What the hell? Let's try again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Game Station Podcast. This Dodger's face disappears in a cloud of Skype.
I'm sorry, I was doing good until that beginning, and then I lost it.
Yeah, as usual, Jesse was fucking around prior to the show.
No, I wasn't.
And, for once, I put my foot down. No, you
I
were.
wasn't saying a thing.
You were
being
doing this.
silent.
And you go,
Being totally silent, though.
I was completely silent, and you were like, "Shut up!" I'm like,
I've had it. I've had enough of your bullshit. It's as simple as that.
this is all I was doing. I wasn't doing anything. I was just.
It's true.
To myself, I was saying, "The vibrations in my brain," because that's an amazing song.
Oh, Jesus
Thank you,
Christ.
Sony.
Welcome to the TGS Podcast.
Where we
the best.
consistently get mad at Jesse Cox every fucking episode.
Yeah.
The vibrations in my brain.
Vibrations. I don't even know that song, but I've heard you say it enough in the last few minutes that I feel like I've heard that song.
Vibrations.
It's catchy.
Best song. It's wonderful. Hi, Dennis. How are you?
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Welcome.
It's
We
an
were telling
exciting
Dennis
time.
that he has the best lighting out of all of us.
We're super jealous of his lighting right now.
Yeah.
It's the main sun. Lighting is different up here in the Northeast.
That
It must
overcast,
be. It
snowy
must
sun.
be.
Our sun is harsh. And
Well,
angry.
it's covered by a thick layer of smog.
We have anger in
That's-
the sun god.
Yeah.
Hey. If God didn't want the smog to be there, it wouldn't be there.
Mhm.
Okay?
It's not as bad as China's smog, so.
Right?
That's
Which
what I
means-
hear. I hear that in China it's like kind of hard to breathe sometimes because it
Have
feels
you-
like you're just breathing in particles.
I
Never
think
been.
it was like a week or two ago, and it was all over the news for a few days. Literally, just thick yellow smog. Yellow, you could see it, like physically see. If you search right now for like
I'm
China
going
smog,
to. I've
Look,
missed
it's-
out on so
look.
many things with no internet.
That sounds racist, is what I'm saying.
Quit moving the camera, damn it! You're out of frame. Good
Me?
Lord. Yeah.
I'm
at least you
sorry.
were.
Okay.
like,
Should I look for
woo!
a table?
What's your
It's not
camera
my
on? Your
fault.
laptop?
The
Dodger.
houseboat seas.
Dodger, this is when you're supposed to do it. He's setting you up. Do it.
Oh no! There's
Oh, look, the houseboat.
Some sort of
It's going
turbulence on the
everywhere.
houseboat.
There's no
Oh,
turbulence on the
no!
sea. God damn it. That's
Oh,
air.
good. It's gone. It passed.
That worked wonderfully.
I am
you.
so glad that you survived the freak storm that your houseboat suddenly ran into on the open
Not
ocean
my friends.
for no
okay?
apparent reason.
Oregon houseboats don't do this.
Yeah. Big thanks,
Only
by the
Oregon
way,
houseboats do
has
this.
to go out to our newest and shortest addition to our $5 subscriber lineup in the chat, Gene Michael, that decided to pay $5 just to spam the same message over and over again and got banned within 20 seconds. Thank you for your money. Much appreciated.
Fantastic.
That was very nice.
Oh.
Yes, so the Game Station Podcast, we occasionally talk about video games. Coming up in the show, we will be dealing with PlayStation 4. That's pretty much going to be an entire show because it's, of course, the biggest piece of news we have ever seen. Well, not really that we've ever seen, but this year, so far this year, it's the biggest piece of news we've ever seen. 2013's been a bit boring so far. Let's be totally
Everybody
frank.
made fun of me so hard because I couldn't watch the conference.
Oh,
so I
don't
just
worry.
did- I know I'm gonna find out all the deets, but
Oh,
at
yeah.
the time that it was going on, I was like, I'm gonna try out my new single serve coffee machine that gives you immediate coffee, much like right now. Thank you, Davis. You're amazing. And then so I was making.
Hang on, is Davis the single-serve coffee machine?
Davis is a single serve coffee machine. So I was trying him out for the first time, and I made a tweet about
Not
it.
saying a thing.
Oh!
I made a tweet about it, and then I got lambasted by everybody who follows me, being like, "Wow, Dodger, no tweets about the PS4, and then you tweet about coffee? Really? Priorities." I was like, I can't watch it. I don't know what's
Well,
happening.
to be honest, like all you need to do is follow me and Jesse for a tweet storm.
Oh,
like
I
every.
was freaking them, and it was hilarious.
Well, I love the fact that everyone I was following pretty much said the exact same thing as I did during the media molecule bit. It's like I have no idea what's happening right now. I don't know, but it's kind of cool, I guess. It's just like, what is this?
I really like that people that I knew didn't know each other were making the same jokes at the same time.
Pretty
It's like,
much, yeah. Like, none of us are actually
that's
original in
Twitter's for.
any way.
That's how you know it's an easy joke. When
Yeah.
people who don't even know each other can make the same one, you know no one's really
Oh, yeah.
trying.
Yeah, no real doubt about that. Oh, we also have something special for this episode of the show. It's quite the thing. Would you
is
like
it French guy rapping?
it? No, that's definitely for the best, I feel. But I do have something kind of neat that I can show you.
We're waiting.
At least I can try and show you. I've got to set this up. Give me fucking
I
time.
have to hold on to the
Jesus.
laptop, so I can only do
takes
it once.
time. This takes time, man. So let's do this, and then we can do See how wonderful that is.
I can't see it. What am I
I
looking
can't.
at?
So where?
There's
Do
the
I need
chat.
to-
Oh,
Yeah.
There's the
oh,
screen.
Wow.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
That's fancy.
What
Yeah.
did you became amazing all of a sudden.
Yes, I've added something new to the show, which I probably won't be able to use properly, but yeah, it's
I want to point out it
kinda
literally took us 1 whole year to get to this technology.
Oh my gosh! What? That looks so good.
Mm-hmm.
it's
I'm so
it's kind of
proud.
neat. I can then pause it and yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, so I can do that, which is kind of neat. I can also do that on the fly, but I'm not sure. Could the guys in the chat tell me whether or not the cameras went gray for a second? Because I have a feeling they did.
Right?
Do it again. Do it again. I'll watch.
All right. Well, I've got to because it did. Yeah, I thought they might. Yeah, so they've got to fix that. So we don't want sound. Are you kidding me? It's like, oh yeah, let's have them talk over us. You dumbasses. Yeah, I have the ability to sort of set up screens on the fly prior to showing them to you, which is something I've asked for in XSplit for like the past year. Unfortunately, it seems like doing that with the kind of screen region thingy causes everything to go gray for a while, which is not ideal. So, and it also froze the screen. So I'm going to have to go back to XSplit and say, this is great, but the whole freezing thing doesn't really work for me.
Thing.
Yeah, so if you could
Didn't
kind of
quite work
fix that,
out.
that would be great. But yeah, I do have this kind of setup. So in theory, now what I can do, since I already have it kind of pre-set up, I can switch between this and I can basically show kind of any YouTube video and have it running on in the background, and we can kind of talk over it. And then we could go back to not talking over it. Fancy. So yeah, it is an idea that I stole from JP McDaniel, but mine's better. So
Much better.
it's all good. So let's start the show by talking a little bit about... Don't laugh. Everyone's better than JP McDaniel.
I'm sorry. No, I was laughing because when the screen came up, everybody was like, wow, that looks really good. And then there was one guy who 3 times in a row said, it's not amazing. It doesn't look great, you guys. It doesn't look amazing. And I was like, damn, this guy
It's like
goes
down a
real
notch.
strong
really,
about it.
really desperate to try and get that...
It's
to
like,
get that
I will
opinion
not
out
let
there.
you be happy.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not as impressed as the other guys, and it's really important that I share that with you over and over again. Yeah, all right,
I was more
guy.
impressed with
So
all the
cool.
50 Shades of Grey jokes. I think they were right on. Good job, chat.
Oh.
When he
Nice.
said, is it gray? Everyone was like, boom, on it.
Yeah, but there was only like one shade of grey in the actual grey, though. Like, it was a pretty consistent grey across the board. So I'm not really
That
sure
is
if that
the-
works.
Most boring of the 50 Shades of Grey. A pretty consistent gray.
So great.
Aside from the actual book itself, that's pretty dull, too. Yeah, it's...
Let's talk PlayStation 4. I'm excited.
But no, we're not talking about that yet. We're talking about the games we've been playing this week. We're starting the show the way we're supposed to. I'm not going to burn through the PlayStation 4 stuff, and now it's like, shit, what we're going to talk about now, because I didn't prepare anything else. Let's
Don't
not
worry,
do
I got
that.
about 45 minutes on Square alone, so
Let's not do that.
don't you worry.
You have 45 minutes on the Square. That's impressive, considering there was 35 seconds of Square on the stage. But, yeah, well done. Good job about that. All right, let's talk about the games we've been playing this week. Force, why don't we start with you? What have you been up to? What's been on your hard drive?
This week, I spent most time with Crisis 3,
Mm-hmm.
which I have to say, there's it seems like there's been some mixed opinion on it, but
Yeah.
I liked the game overall. Like I finished
That's
it.
good.
I finished it on either Tuesday or Wednesday. I think I finished it on Tuesday, and it only took about 5 hours, but it was quality like the entire time through. So
Yeah, I've had I think it was Mike B. Phony. It took him about 7.5. So it seems to be like if you really go at it, then you can get it done in 5. If you take a bit of time. And
Well,
it's more
I
like
completely
7, but-
neglected all the side missions.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
I don't care for those personally. So
Yeah, those things are there. Occasionally you will run into them. I think I'm like 2 or 3 hours in the game. I've run to about 3 side missions, which take a decent amount of time as well. So I always like doing those. Anything that kind of extends the experience for me is cool. But what is your sort of overall opinion on it? Because I kind of share your opinion that I like it as well. The whole mixed opinion thing, it's not a case of it kind of being cool to bash a AAA or an EA game, but some people are definitely not as impressed by it as I think that others are. So I mean, it's not necessarily bad for that. But
yeah, I think Crysis in general is going to be so divisive for people because the first game was so different from the second game. Not only graphically, they took it a notch down, but they made it more of a corridor shooter.
Yeah,
I think the thing that I really liked about Crysis 3, it is by no means an open world game, but there's a little bit of leniency in terms of options and things that you can do. They've got specifically there's vents scattered throughout various levels, and you could just kind of walk your way straight through the main door, or you could take the side vent and sort of be stealthy about it.
It's a bit Deus Ex-y in that regard, isn't it? They've kind of taken the whole "you've got 3 ways to do this" sort of thing that they had in Crysis 2, and then they've made it less obvious. You remember in Crysis 2, it's like this: we're gonna point you at everything. You turn on the visor.
Your HUD or whatever, yeah.
And then it says stealth here, attack here. They don't do that anymore. That's just not there. So you've got to kind of plan that yourself, which is nice.
Oh, shit.
And
you fucked,
it's bad
Jesse.
for me.
And I mean, the shooting's good. It feels solid.
Yeah, it does.
The game looks beautiful. It's
Jesus,
definitely a machine hog, but it was a good experience. I wouldn't say I'm kind of torn. Like, it's a much different game from Far Cry 3. I had a lot of people in the comments in my videos trying to compare the two.
It's nowhere near the same game.
Yeah, it definitely isn't. But
Far Cry 3 is really open world, and one of the things about Far Cry 3 is that it suffers from being open world to some degree because it lacks direction.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of the toss up for so many games. If you want to really open things up like a Skyrim, people are just going to wander, and it's really hard to tell a straight story. Whereas
I actually think that Far Cry 3 is more the middle ground between Skyrim, which lacks it has very little direction. You can do whatever you want, and Far Cry 3, the missions they're very direct about. There's only so many things you can do after you take over all the bases. It's kind of like, all right, well now. So I don't know. I definitely don't think Far Cry 3 is nearly as open world as people say it is, because it directs you to how open it is. If that makes any sense. I don't know. Like, you can only do so much. I'm okay with that because I like the fact that it's confined in that way. It gives you the appearance that it's...
I get overwhelmed in games that don't give me enough direction, and I wind up not being as connected to them or caring quite as much about them because I don't have goals that are super strict that way.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Far Cry 3 was, obviously, you can't really advance the story if you don't do certain things. And that's always going to be the way, yeah? Even in a sandbox game, it's the same in stuff like Skyrim. You can't advance the main story unless you do the fucking main story quests, obviously. So that's fine, but you can kind of wander anywhere and do what you want, and there's a lot of quests sort of dotted around the world that are not really all that important. And Far Cry 3 is kind of the same thing, in that you have the way, you've got the camps, you've got the side quests and the kind of hunter challenges. I can't remember what they're called anymore, but there's all that sort of Way of the Warrior stuff that you can go and do, and then when you're ready, you go and do the objective. But the island itself doesn't really restrict you as to where you want to go, mostly because good luck stopping the hang glider, right? You get in the hang glider, it's like, whee! I can go pretty much wherever I want.
Oh, actually, I do have... Okay, everyone knows I have a massive, horrifying fear of sharks, like real-life stuff. And there's a mission that I just... that in my playthrough I'm doing, I just recorded this. You have to get to a boat out in the ocean. And I'm like, well, there's no way in hell I'm going to swim there. And I can find no boats to get there. So I'm like, to hell with this. I'm going to find
Did you just put this episode up, by the way? Is that actually...
No, this doesn't exist yet.
God damn it.
Well,
I wanted to show that off. But
edited form.
I really just want to do this. Like, it's like, hey, I've got this ability now.
So what happens is I get the hang glider, and it's right on this mountain, right over where this boat is. I'm like, perfect. Jump on the hang glider. I'm like, eagles to me. And of course, all the eagles show up and we start flying. And about halfway there,
I don't remember that.
you hit an invisible wall.
Oh, you don't have eagles in your game? Wow, you didn't unlock that power up then, I guess.
I didn't pay for the DLC.
Eagles are the best. For some reason, every
Eagle
time I get in a
DLC.
every time I get in a
I'd
hang
pay
glider,
the shit out of an eagle DLC, by the way.
every time I get in a hang glider, eagles appear with me, and I don't know why. I
do
assume
birds suddenly appear?
because I'm connected to the island, like John Locke. I don't know if you've
Of
seen.
course.
Oh, I see.
I'm basically parroting Lost in my thing. So anyway, I get on this hang glider, I jump off, and I start flying, and I'm like, this is awesome. I don't even get in the water. I'm gonna just circle around and land on this boat. No sharks at all. Halfway there, you hit an invisible wall that's like, bitch, get in the water, and it just dropped straight down. I was like, no. I'm not gonna after that, but it is awful. And so you can't necessarily go everywhere. They do screw you sometimes in missions.
I'm
Immersion
just
breaking.
showing Far Cry 3 footage here anyway because I want to play with my new feature. So screw it. Continue.
Kraken has a video where he's like punching sharks and stuff.
I functionally cannot handle that game when it comes. Even one of my favorite episodes, I'm like, well, thank God it's the river. There's no sharks in here. Alligator fucking attacks me. I'm like, I can't. I hate this. The animals in that game are scarier than anything else in that entire game. They are horrifying.
Dude,
What
it seems
is
like
up?
the like tigers and things just show up out of nowhere. They're
Yeah.
like, look,
The
I'm hungry.
Let me just put it this way. I'm really, really grateful to the animals in that game, and the reason being that I think the point when I was trying to talk very much about recoil mechanics, and then suddenly an alligator jumps me out of freaking nowhere in my preview, probably got me about 300,000 more views than it otherwise would have. It's just like...
That's what I'm
crazy.
saying. When Dodger and I went on, what's trending? And they were like, hey,
trending, yeah.
play this game. And so like, here, try it. I see a pirate and I shoot him, and then like a leopard just jumps out and kills me. I was like, what is happening? That's the kind of game you're dealing with.
That was so
It's
awesome.
completely unpredictable. That might be what I like about Far Cry more than anything else. Comparatively to like Skyrim or whatever. You kind of know what you're getting into when you go into certain places. In Far Cry, it's like, you could be doing one thing, and then just an animal's like, hey, guess what? I'm gonna eat you. It's like, no, stop. You dick.
I planned this all out perfectly. Nature.
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
Crisis 3.
Yeah, let's get back on to that. Welcome to the derails of the Game Station podcast. Crisis 3. So I don't think it suffers from not being open world, right? The original Crisis was more like Far Cry, the original Far Cry, than it kind of is like Far Cry 3. Because the original Crisis doesn't have any of this whole, hey, you level up your warrior skills. Hey, there's some rebel camps here. Hey, there's some Way of the Warrior challenges here. None of that's there, yeah? And you don't have a kind of access to air vehicles sort of fly around the island, so you're naturally restricted to where you can go. And it does advance the story in a linear way. You can sort of wander around some parts of the island a bit, but it's not Just Cause 2. And it's not Far Cry 3. And in order to advance the story and actually get to most of the island, you need to do linear stuff. Not to mention that about half of the game is very linear corridor shooting. I don't know if you guys actually remember the frickin' Ceph bits, but a lot of that stuff was inside big facilities or underground in tunnels and shit, and that was corridor shooting all the way. You know, I think people just remember the first couple of hours of Crysis as, oh, how amazing this was with open world. I can get in a Jeep and I can drive along the beach, and it's like, it's actually more restrictive than it looks. But it was definitely a good game. But then again, it seems like the entire Crysis series, as you pointed out earlier, Dennis, was actually divisive. The first game was divisive as well. A lot of people argued it was just a big technical showpiece, and it wasn't actually a good shooter.
Yeah. And just to be completely honest, for anyone who hasn't played Crysis 3, there are open parts, but they are fairly limited. I think one of the most open parts that you can actually explore and do stuff is, I think, about the third or fourth chapter when you enter the jungle, New York, and you can sort of wander around these different, dilapidated buildings that have been overgrown with foliage and stuff. But towards the later in the game, there are technically more open areas, but there's literally nothing there, and you're just driving through. There's like an entire chapter that's mainly consisting of driving through vast open areas with hardly any enemies in there. But as we've talked about here, it's sort of more of a, how do you want to tell the story? How does a developer want to tell the story? And it's so hard, especially for anyone with ADD in an open world game, to stay on track and get that story from point to point. And I wouldn't discredit Crysis 3 for being somewhat linear, as it may be for a majority of the game, because it's a good way for them to tell their story to the player. And I thought it was a good story. I liked it, and the gameplay was fantastic. And again, the game looks great. So
I love the mystery behind Prophet, and I love the distrust. And no one fucking talked about this. I read quite a lot of review content because apparently it was all embargoed until release day, and I thought I'm gonna read some stuff. I stumbled upon the Kotaku review, and had to resist the urge to vomit because it was dreadful. But I looked at some of the other stuff and I'm like, why is nobody talking about the cool characterization in this game? And the fact that there's only about 4 or 5 main characters in the game, and the antagonist doesn't really talk, which is kind of great, because he doesn't turn into this sort of mustache-twirling arch-villain like freaking Dead Space 3 or something like that.
Are you not into that?
Yeah, it's like none of that. And there's like maybe 3 or 4 characters in total in the game, and they're all awesome in their own way. Psycho's fantastic the entire way through. He seems genuinely unbalanced, but he's also very funny, and he's also very much kind of struggling with the fact that he's not in a nanosuit anymore, which you discover in like Mission 1, by the way. This is not a spoiler by any stretch of the imagination, but you'd very much discover what happened with him as well if you actually do a lot of the side missions. That he will actually ask you to go and help, which is very cool. And yes, he is very much Jason Statham in this entire thing. And I love the way that the main character who's controlling everything also distrusts the shit out of Prophet. Like, she absolutely refuses to trust him, and it's like, I want to know why, and I want to know what's going on, what happened between her and nanosuits that made her so distrustful of everything. And the fact that she won't even talk to him, won't even refer to him by name. Says you're basically just a serial number in a suit and you're a monster and so on and so forth. And that's a really interesting part of the game, I feel. Instead of it being a generic, oh, thank God, Prophet's here to save the day. And, then everyone erupts into dancing and, that doesn't happen.
That's because technically Prophet isn't Prophet. I mean, I haven't played Crysis 3 yet.
Well, Prophet is Prophet, but he's technically also not Prophet.
Because in Crysis 2, it's a different guy in the suit, and then
because Prophet is Alcatraz, and then isn't. Yeah,
there's so much lore, but I'm glad to hear the stories, because that's the one complaint. People were complaining about Crysis 2 like crazy, like, oh, it's this and it's this, but the only complaint I had was that the story was like the most basic. Kill some bad guys, and all the armies after you. Oh, there's aliens, kill them.
Oh, the original Crysis was so bad at that.
and I'm glad to hear the story is actually much better. I'm okay with that. Because the game, I enjoy everything about that game, no matter what. Crysis is just fun. Like, the whole series is just a fun series. If you don't take it seriously at all and just enjoy it, you'll have a blast. Yeah. It's pretty great.
And just wanted to say one more thing about the game. I think they do a fantastic job between how badass the voice actor is and all of your abilities, nanosuit abilities. You just feel like the man as you're playing as Prophet. I mean, he just feels like so badass, and it's such a cool experience to have all those abilities and be able to just stealth whenever and take people out. And
I miss maximum speed. Like, I miss the ability to run so fast that I hurt myself when I hit something solid. Which is what Crysis 1 had, and Crysis 2 and 3 just don't. It's like, oh, we're just gonna, it's just sprinting. We're just like, no, let me literally be Sonic the Hedgehog. Gotta go fast, and just literally run into a Korean soldier so hard that I knock him into the sea. That's what I want to be able to do. Well, it's true. That's what you do in Crysis 1. It's true. You're against the Koreans in Crysis 1. At least until the Seth show up and ruin the game. It's pretty awesome, but you can't do that anymore, which is pretty disappointing. The one thing I would say about the stealth is I feel that it's, especially at higher difficulty levels, it is so essential to use that it actually becomes kind of a stealth game. Which, Crysis 2, the most efficient way to do it was to play stealth.
To counteract that,
the guys right in the face. That's exactly how you play.
To counteract that, though, they have the whole passive ability system. You unlock those abilities, and you can increase your armor effectiveness and your ability to run with armor active. So
you can spec in a heavy armor and stuff like that.
Right.
Some of those actually have some disadvantages as well, which I really like. I like the fact that they're not just straight up upgrades. Heavy armor is an awesome ability, but it does slow you down. There's also a light armor, which makes you a lot faster, but it reduces the overall armor, maximum armor effectiveness.
It's like 50%.
Cool.
It's a significant amount too.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's good. I think it's a good game. I think it was worth the money. I enjoyed the 5 hours.
I'm satisfied with it.
It's got 5 difficulties. The multiplayer, whatever, it's a standard shooter. They've got some tropes thrown in there, but
I played a bit of it. It's like it's okay. It's just your standard sort of ho-hum Call of Duty style. It's got a couple of interesting modes like Hunter. It's cool for a while. It's a good novelty mode. It's also really good if you want to level up and you don't want to go up against guys that have 50 bazillion points and the best guns in the game, because it gives you default loadouts for that mode. There's also one other mode, I can't remember which one, that does the same thing where it gives you that default loadout. So it's pretty good.
I haven't actually played. I played the beta multiplayer, but I haven't done it on live yet. So I do want to check it out.
Really. There's more guns available as far as I know for unlock, but aside from that, it's like it's Crysis multiplayer. Hopefully they sort the hacking issue out, because there were hackers in the beta. I mean, when I did my video of it, there was a hacker on screen right there. I was like, God, seriously, already? Crysis 2 had the same problem, so I'm hoping that they managed to nail that down. But it's a good few hours of extra fun in the multiplayer mode. But at the end of the day, you're buying Crysis for the single player, and if you're not okay with paying $60 for between 6 to about 8 hours of gameplay, then chances are you're not going to be okay buying Crysis 3. So wait for it to go on sale and then buy it then, because you've been able to buy Crysis for about $3 at 50 different intervals. So, and it's definitely worth doing that. But yeah, I think it's a better game than Crysis 2, in my opinion, which I liked anyway, I might add. I didn't think it was as good as Crysis 1, but I liked it in terms of its direction and its pacing. Yeah,
and not to spoil anything for people who haven't played the game, but they do leave it open. You figure nowadays they're always going to try to leave a little tease of a potential additional game, and it's definitely there at the end.
Shepard's still alive! Sorry.
Yeah, Crytek did say they wanted to do another Crysis Universe game, but they didn't explain what. Like they were speculating in previous interviews that it might not even be an FPS. So, could be a third-person shooter, could be a strategy game, which would be super weird.
I remember hearing they're trying to do that with Dead Space, too. They want to make Dead Space this huge thing where there's going to be space sim shooters and all sorts of things like that. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think they... Oh, gosh. I can't remember where I read it, but I think that I read something where they were talking about how they want to do something else in the Dead Space universe, but not with the same Dead Space through line.
Yeah.
And I
the main
think they want to do that.
Is a necromorph. You play.
They want to do
I'm
the
not
same
even
going
gonna
to
joke. That would be amazing. Where you
Yeah,
play
that would be
necromorph trying to kill people? What? That'd be wonderful.
Wasn't one of these Dead Space games supposed to have a multiplayer mode where you
I think
were able...
the second one did
it?
I think
yeah,
so.
the second one did have a multiplayer.
Has it. Okay.
They got rid of it
Left
in
4 Dead
3,
style?
but
No one plays it,
was,
though. No one. But it exists, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, you basically play as, I'm just looking at it now, you play as Sprawl security officers. And it's like, right, okay, well, that's basically just Left 4 Dead, just not as good. Which is, you just pretty much described Aliens Colonial Marines in a nutshell there.
But you can't, I couldn't be a tentacle baby, right? You can't, it's not like that mode in Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
You can you get to play as the necromorphs. I'm pretty sure I played like one match. I did.
Yeah,
play
it's like a 4-on-4, isn't it?
Yeah,
I believe so.
Space 2, the babies are banelings, so I'm pretty sure you just run up to people and explode.
Yeah.
Awesome. Perfect.
Yeah, that was something they just took out of it entirely, by the looks of it.
So badly.
But they got rid of it in
It's
3,
co-op
which
now, so.
Visceral. Call me. We'll make Dead Space where you play as the monsters. That'll sell you, because then you're the monster. It's like playing Jason or Freddy. By the way, why don't those games exist where you play as them?
It's like, oh, you want to fight
not?
against? No, I want to beat him. Holy shit! Being able to create an alternate dream reality and pull awful people that represent the guys that bullied me in my childhood into that.
Except you pull people into it after you're done building it and then kill them.
Yeah, what you make it a strategy game where
amazing.
you build each nightmare, then pull them in. Jesus,
That would be amazing.
that's sadistic and hilarious.
Play the shit out of that.
Why isn't there an open world you play as Mike Myers, and it's the camp, and it's all the campers there, and you have to kill them without getting caught and stuff. Why doesn't this exist?
There was a
Why-
Friday the 13th, but you played as like a kid running away.
No one wants to be
That was
that. I
dreadful.
want to be the killer.
Yeah.
Oh, why doesn't stuff like that exist?
Because they have no creativity to speak of.
Give it a year. They'll watch this. You'll watch this and you'll make it.
I like that we say that, but I think literally the last 3 podcasts we've been like, you know what would be a great twist is if you played as the alien. Like, we've been
And
saying
it's like, this
for-
isn't actually a great twist anymore, is it? No, it's not.
Oh, apparently I mixed up Friday the 13th and Halloween. It doesn't even matter. Look, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter anymore. Just give us a game where you play as a killer,
Same
and
difference.
I'm good.
Pretty much.
Play
Definitely.
Lucius.
Dodger, what the fuck? What have you been playing this week?
Creepy.
No one responded, so I held it. Well, so immediately after the last podcast, I found out I wasn't going to have internet. So I decided, all right, all of the games that I love, I'm going to play a lot. So I
Okay.
played a lot of TF2. I played a lot of Blood Bowl because I need the training. That sweet, sweet training. And then I played some League of Legends. I played, oh gosh.
Hang on. Didn't you
What?
say you were going to have no internet? How did you play League of Legends?
I was just
No,
about to
I
say
And
that.
TF2? Or was this
I
before
didn't
you
have,
had no internet?
Okay, yes. That's why I was saying I played all of the games that I knew that I wanted to play
Oh,
like
okay,
a ton
yeah,
of
you stocked up
before
on it
my
before
internet
you-
was gone.
When has your internet's now gone, right? Because you're not.
My
at
internet has
home.
been gone since Monday.
Okay.
So I
What did you
spent
play since Monday then?
Monday I've been watching a lot of Adventure Time
Oh.
because
okay.
like pretty much all
well, that
of
was
the
less
games,
exciting than I'd hoped, but all right.
Yeah. Pretty much all of the games that I have on my computer, I keep going to play them and then realizing, oh shit, I have this through Steam. I can't play this.
Oh, did you
And
not
it's been,
turn it offline mode before you?
Really depressing. Does that exist? Because I asked
Yeah,
Chris and he
it
said
does.
it didn't.
Yeah, it does.
Oh,
It doesn't
God.
necessarily work that well, and you kind of have to do it before you lose your internet connection, for
Right.
the most part. But yeah, you could have potentially.
Dang it.
5 years from now, if you don't have internet, you will play no games ever.
Oh, look, a really, really good argument against freaking always on DRM.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird because I know that we've been talking about that a lot, like, you know, the pros and cons to having a game always online.
Yep.
And for the most part, you know,
They're
it's
mostly
fine
cons.
because we are always online, but not having internet this week so far, I've been like, this definitely totally strikes to home the idea of I don't actually own these games,
Thanks, Obama.
you know? And
Yeah.
it's been really sad. I'm like, well, I've got my PS4 games, so I can play. Or
Do you?
PS4.
Holy shit.
I have my PS4 games, guys, because
Dev
I
kit.
have. I've got my
Secrets
PlayStation games
right here.
so I've been able to play those. But for the most part, I have like action, adventure, and role playing games on those, so I haven't had really a reason to play those again. So it's just, I don't know. I haven't really been playing much. I've been going through all of my papers and organizing things because I'm switching rooms and had Adventure Time on for days. So I've got quite an interesting mental space going right now, watching that much Adventure Time.
I've always kind of noticed, like, we've only been on for about half an hour, and I'm already thinking, you're more unbalanced in more ways than one than I've seen you in a long time.
I'm wearing a cat sweatshirt.
Oh.
I'm really imbalanced right now.
Oh.
But no, I just played like a bunch of TF2, Blood Bowl, and League of Legends before I lost my internet, and now I haven't really been playing anything since losing internet. What were you going to say, Jesse? You seemed perturbed.
Nothing. I was gonna say we shouldn't judge you based on cat shirts because I know you have a lot actually. So this isn't Sherlock Cat, and I've seen shirts. In fact, cats might be your thing. If anything, that's the part of you saying, no, I'm cool. I may seem crazy, but really I'm cool.
I'm trying to think if I have any other shirts that have cats on them.
Don't do that. Don't oh, you don't know, Jesse. I've seen it. I have seen it.
I don't think I do!
Shut up. Let's move on, shall we?
We should. We
Yeah,
should. Jesse,
Jesse.
what have you been playing?
This baby right here. Whoop.
Ah.
Is the best. Is the best. That's literally all I've been playing all week.
Okay, tell us about it.
I put in more hours than feasible for that game. Ni no Kuni is an amazing game. It's basically Studio Ghibli's finest. And you play as Oliver, a nice young boy who lives in Motorville, which is basically the United States, except everyone has British accents. Except for one kid is like, "What's up, dum-dum?" That's my favorite character in any game ever. He says dum-dum to people. And his spoilers in the first 5 minutes, his mother dies. And so he goes on an adventure to bring her back, basically.
Aww.
And that's the story. And he goes to another world with Mr. Drippy, the amazing voice, even in the English version.
Well, especially in the English version, because he has a British accent.
It's
And
a legit one, too.
Yeah, it's not actually a stereotypical one, really, which I actually found kind of surprising.
And it is, once you join that other world, it becomes like an old school RPG to the point where I was like having like Super Nintendo flashbacks of the overworld. Like when the music in the overworld is what you hum while you're just doing stuff, that's how you know it's good. And it's got like sort of like Pokemon-ish battle systems, and I am roughly like 20 hours in the game, and I think I'm just like halfway through the desert area, which is the second area. I have dumped time into this and
That's
haven't done
a
it.
lot of time. That's a big game. It's a level 5 game. It's going to be... The last level 5 game I beat was Dragon Quest VIII, and I put over 100 hours into it. And that was a long time ago.
And what's the worst thing for me is in the stats screen. I was the very first day I had it, I was sticking around the overworld, because when you first start, Mr. Drippy's like, "Oh no, just stick over there, no." And so you...
Yep, that's exactly how he sounds as well. You know,
he's subtitles are a must for that character. It's the best. And so you start out and you can travel, just explore the world, or go to the town that he says to go to. And so as I'm exploring, I stumble upon, like, there's overworld items that glitter, and those respawn every so often. Those are just, you can get them repeatedly. But there are also hidden items that I stumbled upon. And I noticed that there's a thing that's like there are 111 hidden items in the game. So here I am.
Oh, dear.
Day one, just looking like through the overworld. I found every single hidden item in the first overworld map and was like, yes! And now I'm on the second one, and I'm like, must find them all. That was about 6 hours of my life just gone. But by the time I got to the first boss, I was like 12 levels higher than I needed to be. So I just like one-shot his ass. I was like, this is the best.
Yeah, that's every level 5 game as well. I remember, although a lot of the older level 5 games kind of required you to grind. Dragon Quest VIII was a prime example of this, where the first dungeon would kick the crap out of you unless you had deliberately gone and ground some monsters before that.
Well, what's great about the game is there's like multiple levels of storytelling in it. There's the normal dialogue, which you can read and skip through. There's the normal dialogue that's voiced in like little in-game scenes. And then there's the actual animation, which is gorgeous. And so you combine all that, and the character designs, I love how the normal characters range from, like, the normal enemies range from super cute to sort of monstrous, but every one of the bosses is like an over-the-top, like, anime character from any Studio Ghibli anime, where they look amazing.
Yes.
And then the townspeople, like the first town, I was in it, and I love how you just discover little things about the towns, because it didn't hit me at first, because the first town is humans and like bird people, and all of them have like ridiculous shop names. I'm trying to remember the name of the weapon shop, but it's a crow who owns it, and it's named something like Crowish. There's an old owl lady, and so her shop is like the Hoot something, and so it's really cute. But one of the things I didn't realize is the first town is in the middle of this like lake, and it's sort of a fish theme. And I was like, I guess because it's like fish team, but there are cat people walking around. I was like, I guess they like living here. And then the king actually turned out to be a giant fat cat, and I was like, that's why there are fish everywhere, because it's a cat town. And it really amused me. I can't even explain to you why I loved it so much. And then there's like the sewers are run by the rats. And so what you realize is that you progress through the game, the two worlds, your Earth and then this world, are connected by more than just him going to save his mom.
Yeah.
Everyone in the real world has a alt double in the fake, in like this magic world. And so one of the things that happens early on is you can travel back and forth between the two. And so they set up, like, at one point, the Cat King goes missing. And in order to find him, Mr. Trippy's like, let's go back to the other world because he must have someone there. And it turns out he is connected to the cat that's, like, the shop owner's cat. And so you go to the shop owner's cat's missing, you go off and search for him, and you find that he's, like, gone off to chase rats, and he's, like, all tired and worn out because he's a big fat cat. You go back to the dream world, or whatever world this is, this magic world, and you find out that the Cat King ran off to go chase the rats in the sewer, and then he's in a battle down there, and that's how you find him. And so it's like that sort of, like, back and forth. It's really well done, and I love everything about that game.
That sounds so great.
It is.
Pretty
and
wonderful.
Since you don't have internet, now is a perfect time to buy the bloody thing.
I know, I was
and
just
actually
thinking
sink
that.
a
I was
ton
like,
of
I
time
could just
into it.
buy that.
Yeah,
and
do my Oblivion hermit trick where I spent a month in my room with the curtains closed playing Oblivion.
Here's the problem, though. You may not be able to play it, and I will, because when I first started the game, in order to have, not English voices, English language, in order to have that, you had to download a
An
3
update?
megabyte patch. Yep.
No.
Oh.
You download something in order to even play the game. I was like,
It's fine. You can play in Japanese. No big deal. You know.
yeah, you'll figure it out. You'll figure out what
Well,
they're
it's
saying.
got subtitles, for God's sake. You can
No,
play
no, that's what I'm saying. When I clicked English, like, language, not English voices, English language,
You
it's
need
like
a patch
downloading
for the
English patch.
subs? Wow.
That's what it made me
Sucks.
All right, well, take your PS3 to someone's house.
Starbucks.
Download the patch.
do. Go to
Brought
Starbucks
it
with
here.
it.
Dang it.
Yeah, why
But,
not? It's a tiny little screen. You'll be able to pull that off.
It's a stellar game. And then, of course, they have a Pokemon system, kind of.
Yeah, they do.
Where, like, right off the bat, you get this little impy guy called Mighty who is freaking adorable. And basically, when you not only train them and help them learn spells, but you feed them, too, to get their affection level up. But you can only feed them so much before they get full. And Mighty, when you feed him chocolate, does the most amazingly cute squeal. He's like, ah! I'm like, oh, no! It's
I gotta feed you chocolate always.
right. And so, and that's also one of the things that makes the game fun, is there's that aspect of it. And
What's the
It's-
combat like? Is it like a Final Fantasy back and forth kind of?
the
I
combat,
heard the combat is very different.
yeah, the combat here's how the combat works. It's much like the newer Final Fantasies and a lot of the older games a lot of games have done this. Where basically overworld or in a dungeon, you run around. If you see a monster and you engage, combat screen, right? Except in this one, what I love is that, just like other games where if you run head to head with them, it's a normal battle. If you attack them from behind, it's like you get a first attack. But in this one, if they get you from behind, rather than just standing there like a giant tool and taking a hit, you can actively move your character because the combat screen's like 3D. So you can move out of that initial first strike if you're fast enough, rather than just sit there and be like, I'm gonna take damage because I didn't see that guy attack me from behind. And that's kind of cool. But the combat is, when it starts out at least, you are playing as Oliver, and you have magic powers, so you can use a fireball or ice or heal. But if you want other forms of combat, you can use your spirit little guy, basically your Pokemon, and he'll fight for you. And then you can switch between them and use different ones. But in the beginning, I know there are other characters, but I haven't gotten them yet. That's how long I've played this game and not done anything. And so, in the beginning, when you play as Oliver, you can switch between yourself and your little companions, but you can only fight with one person at a time. So you can attack, and then there's a little timer. Like if you select attack with Mighty, there's a timer that runs down, and he just keeps swinging like a crazy person, but you can move him around and do stuff with him. Little health balls will appear that you can get, and you can grab those.
Yeah.
Combat is really different, but with that said, it's also, if you play Pokemon, you can kind of use it because you know what to use on certain things. Like some guys will do a shield, and other guys have really quick attacks, and that's why you have this like monkey thing that is real quick and fast that can move out of the way. Stuff like that. It's definitely, you have to get used to it, that's for sure. It's not your normal combat.
No, it is not, and that's good. You know, I think the last thing that I really wanted was a normal combat system. It's like, oh great, more of this nonsense. You know, I need something more than just press attack over and over again and then just watch one go in. It even got to the point where some of Persona 4's combat was getting that way. I was like, oh, please do something different. Like, there's maybe just enough in Persona 4 to say, okay, I'm not going to get horribly bored of the combat here, but I'm very glad there's also an auto attack button in that game, because like just oh, it's yet another one of these guys that isn't a threat. Let's just hit the triangle button and let the game beat the crap out of him for me.
Right. It's fun. It's definitely a game you should check out. So if you have time, Miss Dodger, and you aren't doing anything, I'd pick it up. It's a good game.
I ain't doing nothing.
It's funny you should mention that you've been playing a Japanese RPG, because I also have. I've been playing a lot more Fire Emblem Awakening, although that is also not a traditional RPG. It's very much an SRPG in the style of Final Fantasy Tactics, Tactics Ogre, and Shining Force, things like that. It is wonderful, but it is kicking my ass. It is a hard game. I decided, yeah, you know what? I'm an expert at Shining Force. You know, I've beaten Shining Force 3 like 10 times. I'll be totally fine with Fire Emblem Awakening on hard mode, with permadeath enabled. Oh, Jesus. It's pretty difficult. The AI, let's just say the AI in Awakening is way better than the AI was in Shining Force 3 that was desperately attracted to beating on your main character. So it's like, I'm just going to buff him up to maximum, and then he's going to be a giant tank, and they're just going to keep hitting him. But this time around, they're like, oh, you have a weak character? Yeah, we really just want to kill that person, and we're going to charge past in order to make that happen. So it's... when your characters die in that game, they die for good. They're completely gone from your roster. So that's pretty hardcore, to the point where I started off thinking, I'm just going to Iron Man this shit. And then I rapidly realized I'm not going to have any soldiers left if I keep Iron Manning this shit. I have to restart these battles if I fuck up. So there's this battle I'm on right now that I've restarted maybe 8 or 9 times. I thought I'd beaten it, and then there's this side objective that I failed, and because I'm a completionist bastard when it comes to games like this, I'm like, well, guess I'm restarting the battle then, because I failed this side objective. So this is going on and on, but I think eventually I'm sort of getting to the point where my characters are dying less and less because I'm making less dumb mistakes, and I'm kind of getting where the game goes. And to be fair, the game gives you all the information you could possibly need not to screw up. So if you fuck up, it's really your own fault.
That sounds horrible. That sounds like a horrible experience. I'm sure the game's wonderful, but
you can play it on casual mode if you happen to be 8 years old. But if
right,
you know...
but I completely understand. Like, I would play it on like permadeath mode just because the stakes are higher and it makes you take your time more. But it just sounds like that would be a tossing kind of game. Like, fuck it, I'm done. That's how I would react. So
it's...
But that's 3DS, right?
Yes.
Awakening?
Yeah. It is very much 3DS, and it is quite amazing, I might add. It is absolutely phenomenal. It's got great voice acting to the point where I'm like, do I want English or do I want Japanese? And I eventually settled on Japanese because, honestly, it sounds a bit better. And the reason I say that really is because it is a game that has a lot of battle sounds, like of where, you know, you're attacking something. And in Japanese, that always sounds better. You know, in English, it's like, let's go. In Japanese, it's like, what the hell? I don't even know
that's exactly
Yeah. And then they just sound so casual, having won and beaten everybody, and it's like, that sounds kind of great. It also has some pretty nice animated cutscenes. They're fairly impressive, to say the least, I would say.
Those are always a pro for me. If there are nice animated cutscenes in a game, I'm just like,
there's plenty nice animated cutscenes. They look something like this, and it is a good-looking game with a nice art style. It's got a good story. It's got this edge of, like, there's political strife going on between various nations, but there's also some crazy stuff going on with supernatural nonsense. There's things which appear to be summoned or rising from the dead or whatever, and you have to deal with them. What the game's also got, which just blows my mind, is the amount of wireless functionality this game has. They've incorporated Street Pass in a really big way, and they've also incorporated wireless in a really big way. So randomly, in your game, if you have the wireless features turned on, other people's characters will appear as shopkeepers all over the world that you can buy special stuff from. Other people's teams can also appear, and a bunch of different challenges will be unlocked. And there's a crap ton of content that actually comes into the game as a direct result of actually getting access to someone else's game, someone else's team, and there's even a co-op mode that you can actually do. It's It's got a lot of content. They actually did DLC for this as well. And bear in mind, this is a game that actually came out in April 2012 in Japan, so they've had a lot of time to make DLC for it. And Nintendo's apparently totally cool with DLC now, so they are getting into it with a vengeance. And you can get all sorts of stuff. You can get challenge maps against all of the old characters, which allows you to summon the old characters from the other games. And it even has the original music. The first map that I played had all the music from the NES Fire Emblem, which was just like... wow, that's pretty fantastic. So yeah,
it looks really nice.
Yeah, it's the. I mean, you know, this is the stuff that's all in the animated cutscenes, obviously. But even the battle sequences are in fully rendered 3D, and the battle maps are in isometric 2D, which is absolutely perfect. And it's really exactly what I was looking for. It's very much like Shining Force was. And I love those 3D battle sequences because they just look great. The animation quality is stellar, and there's lots of special moves and critical strikes which all have different animations as well. And it's kick-ass. I love the assist system. You stand next to someone, and they also appear in the 3D battle render, and they can sometimes help you. So they'll like push you out of the way and kind of take the hit for you, or they will assist you and they'll attack with you and stuff like that. You can also pair characters up, and yeah, it's really great, and it's the best game on the 3DS, and you should own it.
Yeah. The game looks good. It's one of those things, it's sort of one of those games where it makes me wish I have a handheld. I haven't owned a handheld in so long.
Well,
but
I guess there's now a reason to own a 3DS.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have necessarily said that there was prior to this, because there weren't that many great games, but...
yeah, I can't
Fire
remember the
Emblem...
last time I used mine. Like... really?
Well, there's the new Pokemon coming out, which is blowing everyone's minds, and then there's Fire Emblem, which is currently out right now. So, if you're not into the usual Nintendo nonsense of, oh, hey, let's play Ocarina of Time again, or, oh, hey, here's 3 new Mario games, then Fire Emblem Awakening is probably a good reason to own a 3DS. I would suggest getting an XL, because they're just better in every way, and the battle map is really fucking small on a normal 3DS, and you've got a lot of statistics as well on the bottom screen, which are very good to read on the 3DS XL and not so good on the 3DS. So just something to consider there.
Seems to be a lot of value, and I've really generally considered getting a Vita lately too. For one, they haven't been doing too well, so the prices might drop. And
they will. They've already dropped them in Japan by about 20-30%. So yeah, hang on, they will.
Yeah,
most
the
likely.
PlayStation Store too just seems like absurd value with all the free games you can get on that thing, or PlayStation Plus rather.
PlayStation Plus is phenomenal, even on the Vita. Myself and Jesse have been talking about PlayStation Plus until the end of frickin' time, and rightfully so, because it is super great value. I just got Ninja Gaiden Sigma Plus, yeah, because they added an extra subtitle to it for whatever reason. Ninja Gaiden Sigma Plus is free right now for PlayStation Vita. I think
got both the Darksiders games yesterday.
Oh, yeah, on PlayStation 3, yeah, Darksiders 1 and 2, free.
We're on there, yeah,
Plus.
for free. I got those.
Fuck, it's nuts. The amount of free stuff, and we say free. You know, obviously you're paying $5 a month, but it's $5 a month.
Yeah,
Who gives a shit?
$5. Yeah.
Who gives a shit? You
That's
get
like
so
rentals.
much
It's
stuff.
like old school rental fees. That's what I compare it to. Like back in the day when I had to go to Blockbuster to get a game because I wasn't going to buy it. That's what it's like.
Mhm.
And every month they put up new games, and some of the games are ones that have been there, but come on, you get some amazing deals on there too.
I've
And
got
it's
like
more than that.
20 free
You're not
games
just
so
even.
far.
So you're not even just paying for the games too. You get the whole PlayStation Plus service, so that's a lot of added value.
Yeah, you get a lot of discounts. And I remember when I first got PlayStation Plus, I got it because Journey was on there a week before for people that had PlayStation Plus. And it's like, yeah, I'm definitely getting PlayStation Plus. And then suddenly I realized, holy crap, look at all this free shit. It's like,
Oh yeah, PlayStation Plus is actually really great.
yeah, it turns
It's
out.
an amazing deal.
It's the funny thing was, it started off being like occasionally like a Neo Geo game for free. Like, here's Samurai Showdown. Like, that's kind of neat, I guess. And it's like, oh, here's Infamous 2. Like, what? And then they just kept doing that. It was insane, and it continues to be an absolutely fantastic deal. If they continue that with the PlayStation 4, especially with this new cloud streaming service, which we'll get onto after the break, let's not get into that yet, I will be super, super happy. But, yeah. Anyway, yeah, Fire Emblem Awakening is definitely a reason to own a 3DS, just as kind of Persona 4 Golden is a reason to own a Vita, but we're still waiting on other killer apps for the Vita. I don't use my Vita anymore. Once I beat Persona 4 Golden, was like, oh, let's play Persona 3. I should have played this first.
Oh,
Yeah, it was like...
it's not holding up.
Oh, it's so far back in terms of mechanics and also its
Yeah.
visuals. I'm like, oh, shit, I should have played this first. Thankfully, that's why I told the missus, play this first, and then you can... And then she picked up a Vita so she can play Persona 4 Golden as well. So it's like, yeah, she's going to get that full experience. I guess I'll just watch the anime and I can get up on the story. But I was just like, oh, God, why? But what else have I played this week? A lot more Dota. It's just, it continues to be Dota with me. And I continue to like the game. The more I learn about the game, the more I enjoy it. I went into a game yesterday thinking, I'm going to be the best support I can be. And I said, I'm going to buy lots of wards. And that's going to be my thing. And occasionally I'm going to stun people for the carry. And it was super successful. I had like the entire map just covered in wards. So, like, oh, they're coming to gank us. Oh, we have prior warning of this, so they can't gank us. Or we could set up a counter gank and so on and so forth. And I was running around with the Ogre Magi, who's this hilarious two-headed ogre. And they argue, the two heads argue with each other, which is awesome. His special ability is the fact that his ultimate is called multicast. And randomly, you cast a spell about 3 or 4 times in a row, which, as it turns out, does a shitload of damage. And also, everything goes crazy. But I basically ran around the entire game supporting the carry, who is the Night Stalker, and I'm like, I'm going to keep you safe. Someone comes to try and kill you, I'm going to stun them, and I'm going to set them on fire. So you want to fight someone, I'm going to give you Bloodlust, so you've got faster movement speed, and so you got faster attack. And I'm just going to be credit to team, right? And it turns out that wins you the game if you make sure that guy gets used enough to farm.
Are you saying teamwork helps you win?
It's a bit of a revelation, I know, but yeah,
It's an urban myth.
No, we probably shouldn't tell people that. It's like, shh, don't tell them that I was warding everywhere and they never counter warded once, so they couldn't find any of them, and they had no idea why we could see them all the time. Don't tell them. But it's...
Do you typically play support?
No, I mean, I play single draft only because I like single draft. As a game mode, I think it's cool. What single draft does is it picks 3 heroes for you, 1 strength, 1 agility, and 1 int, and you pick which one you want, and then you roll with it. So it's not quite as crazy as all random. You do get some choice, but it lets you play new heroes all the time, which I very much like. So I get to experience what the game has to offer. And it also means you're not on a perfectly balanced team, and it's also not all pick, which means that the OP heroes aren't picked all the time. There's certain heroes which are really, really good in certain compositions. I wouldn't say they're OP, but they're very good at pub stomping, right? As in, if the players are really low level and they don't know how to counter them, so like Ursa, for instance. So there's a hero called Ursa, and he is just phenomenal at beating the shit out of people. And he can also do something which pretty much no other hero can do, which is kill Roshan at level 7. Yeah, which it's like you shouldn't be able to do that. Roshan is the big scary demon dude. You kill him, you get the Aegis of the Immortal, which is like you get 6 minutes of being able to respawn instantly on the spot, which is super powerful. And then you also get 200 gold for everyone on your team, which is massive. This guy can solo Roshan with a certain item build at a very low level, which no other hero can really do. And what happens is low-level players assume that there's not going to be anyone at Roshan, so they ignore him. And then he gets Roshan. And it's like, oh, look at me, I'm invincible, and I can also kill you in like 3 seconds. And he just has this overwhelming amount of burst damage that people really don't know how to deal with. And it's just... it's pretty ridiculous. And, that's an example of one of those heroes that is imbalanced. But he's not. He's just imbalanced in certain compositions. Right. But single draft avoids a lot of that because people don't have full control over which hero they pick. But I don't generally play support, but I think I'm going to actually do like a couple of weeks of just dedicating myself to playing support because a lot of heroes can be played support. Anyone that's kind of got a stun and some kind of aura is generally really good support. Unlike League of Legends. In League, you've got specific support heroes that are just like, this guy is support. And then this guy's an AP carry. And he goes in the middle. But that, of course, that's old meta, so that might have changed. But in Dota, it's like, oh, you have a stun and some kind of thing which buffs your allies. You can be support. Or you can be the carry. Ogre Magi can be the carry. if he gets enough feed. And he could also be support. Sven, who is this giant guy with a huge sword that has the ability that does like 300% damage, he can be support because he's got a really good stun and he can buff people. So it's, Dota's a bit weird like that. And I think that's kind of cool. I like that very much.
I was gonna say I've been playing a lot of Smite over the past few months. It's high res studios,
Yeah, I'm
third person, all that, and I can't say that that's the case in that game.
No, it's
that
not.
You have that sort of dual role for these characters.
Absolutely not.
They're pretty set in place for the most part. I mean, there are some characters you can play as more of a carry or tank, but that's as far as the extent might go, as far as I'm concerned. So,
Dota's got this weird dichotomy where heroes are highly specialized and also can do most things, which is like, what? That doesn't make any sense. But it's basically because heroes kind of slot into this very specific thing that they can do. Like, there's a reason why heroes are picked at high-level play. A reason why, say, Tidehunter is picked is because his ultimate is amazing. Yeah? So his ultimate can be a team fight winner. And there's certain heroes which are very specific in terms of what they can kind of do. But depending on how much farm they get or their lane partner, they can kind of become something different. So it's very, very strange. But I like that. It's pretty cool. I like that I can pick a hero and I'm like, well, I could play support or I could be the carry. If I get a couple of kills early on and I get a lot of farm, whereas I didn't expect to, oh, I'm the carry now. Okay, fine. I'll be the carry. This other guy can kind of switch to a more supporting role, and he buys the items for that. So it's nice. It's a lot of fun. I'm having tons of fun with it, and I'm going to keep playing it. And I think that's kind of about it, really, from what I've been playing. I have a sealed copy of Metal Gear Rising sitting there that desperately wants me to play it. Haven't gotten around to that yet, but I definitely will do it.
Saw Giant Bomb's quick look. Looks pretty good. I've heard really good things about it.
Demo's so good, and apparently the main game, like, they've tightened it up way more than the demo. Apparently the parrying system's way, way slicker and things like that. And everyone's saying, oh, Platinum's done it again. And yeah, that's fine. Absolutely. I love Platinum. Every game Platinum makes is great. Name a bad Platinum game. You can't, exactly, because there isn't one. As simple as that.
Hey, what's going on with, speaking of that, what's going on with Bayonetta 2? Is there a window for that on the Wii U?
Don't think there's a window yet. I kind of hope that it's coming this year, but then again, I don't really mind, because like, just take as long as you fucking need to make it good, right?
Yeah.
I don't think there's a release date on Bayonetta 2 yet.
So many people were raging over the Wii U exclusivity of that game.
Nintendo's paying for it. Sega didn't want to fucking pay for it.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
thank you, Nintendo.
They were too busy with Aliens. That turned out great.
Jesus. Yeah. Aliens, Colonial fucking Marines. Did any of you bother to play it yet?
Nope.
I,
Didn't think so.
I heard how bad it was, and I
like,
thought,
yeah.
I need to buy it.
I covered it. I played 5 hours, and then I was like, "That I've had enough."
You played more than anyone else. Tell us about this, please.
So much that I think the game just, it feels like an old shooter. It feels like a shooter from 2005, which I guess makes sense because that's when development started on the game. But it was just so mishandled, and the fact that it was bounced around so much. And I don't know if you've been following the drama, but there's been so much back and forth between Gearbox and Sega, and there are these rumors now that Gearbox basically was telling Sega that they were working full force in this game, but they were really just passing it off to other studios. I think it was Timegate was the studio that is actually responsible for most of it. Yeah,
the weird thing is there was like 3 other studios as well that were apparently involved in this thing.
Yeah.
Nerve, Demiurge, who did a game called Destroy All Robots, something like that, and Darkside, I think. But we don't really know how and why yet. There's also, like, the biggest accusation is that the money that Sega gave to Gearbox to make Aliens Colonial Marines, Gearbox decided to spend on Borderlands instead.
Which, I mean, that's a bad business practice, but hey,
you think?
Borderlands was great. So.
Yeah, I loved that game.
Wow, that's freaking awesome if that's true.
It's terrible.
It's
They're
terrible.
Awesome.
They're probably going to get sued, but...
Oh, yeah, they most likely will. It's just... It is... And this is the second time this has happened, by the way. We should not forget that this is the second time this has happened with Gearbox, because it also happened with Duke Nukem. It's like, yeah, we're gonna totally make Duke Nukem Forever amazing, and then it turns out to be a steaming pile of wank.
Who published that?
Who published it? That was 2K. 2K, yeah.
It's just too bad, because in my mind, when I think Gearbox, I'm like, Borderlands. Borderlands is awesome. I love Borderlands, but they've also put out some really crappy stuff. And the funny thing is, like, they threw their name on Aliens, and then as soon as everyone's like, this game is crap, they're like, oh, we didn't make that. No, that was those guys.
It's, what? We weren't involved in any of that.
Yeah, this is like the second time now. It's like, are they gonna just drop? To all credit to them, they haven't just dropped Timegate in it yet. Yeah, they haven't sort of taken responsibility directly, but they haven't also directly said this was all Timegate's fault. And I'm kind of glad of that. Although apparently Randy Pitchford has been, well, I wouldn't say that's ironic because it's not. Interestingly and appropriately enough, been pitching a fit. There we go. He's been pitching a fit on Twitter and has apparently been blocking everyone that said anything negative about the game. There's also rumors that they created fake accounts to send him praise just to make him feel better. It's like,
yeah,
wow, really? Holy
it's
shit.
just, but
I should do that.
I guess onto the game. It looked bad. Like, it didn't play well. There was just a whole lot about it. The most frustrating thing for me, I talked about this in a video I did covering it. The gun animation, the muzzle flash was not in line with the sound. Like, if you held down...
yeah, definitely, because they shoved the pulse rifle sound in randomly for authenticity's sake.
Exactly. And it's just like, it doesn't even match up. That makes no sense to me. How am I hearing the gun sound and not seeing a muzzle flash?
Yeah, because
It sounds amazing.
they take it...
I was gonna say, this just sounds like it went like this.
No,
Your
and
entertainment
the curve
level
was like
probably
this,
does
like-
this.
And
Yes.
you can even see this on YouTube. I am fairly certain, if it's not a direct...
Shall I do it? Shall I show it to you? Because I can do that. I can probably do
Besides
that.
the muzzle flash, the sound of a dying alien is the dying boar sound from World of Warcraft. Legitimately, straight up, it is the same same sound.
All right, well, I can show you a little bit, and I can give you some sounds here as well. So this is showing off the Aliens Colonial Marines AI, as well as some of the sounds that are going on. These guys are freaking out at nothing, which is pretty funny, but... These are sort of the pulse rifles going off, and it's just kind of ridiculous because it's just like they took the pulse rifle sounds from the movies and tried to kind of stretch them out as much as they could, because nobody fires like this in the movies. Like, they're firing really short control bursts in the movies for the most part, unless you happen to, of course, have the frickin' smart gun. And there's kind of a reason why they don't do that in any of the other Aliens games. Like, any of the Alien vs. Predator games, the pulse rifles sound different.
I mean, if they made it a burst weapon and they could have thrown that sound on it, that would have worked fine.
Yes.
But the fact that it's just baffling to me. And it's just like that and the dying boar sound, whether or not it seemed like that's what they took it from, but it just speaks to the corners that were cut in the production of this game and the fact that it was bounced around so much. And, I think Timegate, who again supposedly worked on like 50% of the game's campaign, they were also responsible for some of the terrible Fear expansions that came out.
They were also responsible for one of the good ones, though. Like, they were responsible for Perseus Mandate, which sucked, but Extraction Point for the original Fear was actually really good. Timegate's got actually a kind of good history if you ignore that Perseus expansion, because that was dreadful. They did Kohan, which was a great strategy game. They did Axis and Allies, which was awesome. They did Section 8 Prejudice, which I still to this very fucking day love. I think it's a great game, although the single player in that game kind of sucked. The multiplayer was really cool. This is why it boggles my mind. Why the fuck would he get Timegate to do a single player shooter campaign when their latest experience with shooters has been with multiplayer in Section 8? It's like, why? What the hell's the logic there?
And like, I had high hopes for this game too, because I saw Gearbox and I'm like, oh, they can make a shooter. This will be great, right? But it just wasn't. The gunplay felt dated, old. It looked bad. Like, if you looked at the game's demo from like a year or two ago, and it
looked better then.
The demo looked better.
The demo was a lie. That's the thing. It was a gigantic bait and switch, which is what people are really complaining about. Because most of the stuff that's in demo is not actually in the final game. So it's like, well, that's a big lie, isn't it? That's great.
I mean, obviously they could like change things in development, but the worst thing about all this too is that Sega's reaping the benefit of like topping the sale charts in UK last week.
Stop pre-ordering video games.
Yeah.
God.
Damn.
Jeez.
It's too bad. It's too bad. The franchise is so deep seated in, dare I say, geek culture, and it could have been great.
It's just like whatever.
And apparently he really hates aliens. It's like, I'm done with the podcast.
Oh my goodness.
Headphones are off and everything. He's like, nope, I'm done.
I'm just done. No, I just wanted to show off this thing, which I got.
Was that a pre-order bonus?
No, not exactly. No, this is a licensed Matrix airsoft aliens pulse rifle.
Yeah.
It does actually have a working ammo counter on there as well. This is kind of fun. But myself and Angry Joe both bought these when we found out they existed. He bought it because that would be a great prop for my video, which turns out is going to be one of his most successful videos of all time, currently, by the looks of the views. And I just bought it because I'm like, you know what I really want for Valentine's Day? An alien pulse rifle. That sounds
For
great.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah, that was my Valentine's Day gift.
What?
That was my Valentine's Day gift. It's pretty good. I do need to kind of tighten it up with a screwdriver because there's a few loose metal parts in it, but it's fucking awesome. Fully working, really fantastic thing. I like my airsoft guns. Just that's my thing right now. I've got 2 more coming in the mail.
It's seriously your thing, yeah.
Yeah, it really is. Like there's one of my followers really wanting to sell his airsoft collection. It's like, I really need this shit out of my house. Will you buy it? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I've got. Well, they got some really nice guns. So I bought like his AK-104 and his M16 and another Beretta because Lord knows I need 3 Beretta M92s just in case I grow an extra arm.
It's fine.
So-
We don't need that living room space.
Well,
We'll
I'm
just
thinking
be guns.
I'm thinking what I do is I bring all the pistols with me to LA next time, and we go do a little bit of close quarter battle in one of the
Oh
indoor
yeah, that's
places.
a good idea.
That should be fantastic. Just
You
gonna,
have the single most patient wife in the entire world.
she's fine with that. She's like, that's not actually expensive tastes, really. It's like I could be buying cars, and she'd probably be pissed off about that. It's like you can't even drive. It's like, but it's nice. Look at this fucking thing. I'm currently lusting after a 2014 Corvette Stingray because it's just gorgeous.
I don't even know what
It
that
does
looks
look good.
It
I'm not gonna
oh
lie.
my god!
Not
It's
gonna
just,
lie, it looks good.
Holy shit!
Are you gonna
It is
bring
a
it up
showing
pretty
it?
car.
Are you
on your
showing
new
it?
on your new little thing.
You want me to shill it?
Please show us a
Yes.
show us a video.
You want me to show
of
a
that
video of the
car.
Corvette Stingray? Yeah, there's.
I ain't gonna lie, it's a beautiful car.
It's kind of gorgeous. I mean I can try and show you it. This has got nothing to do with video games at all.
It does, according to Car Club, or whatever that game is. Car Club for Men.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not just the founder, I'm also a member too.
Indeed. Yeah, this is thanks to Auto Week for this footage, by the way. That's the 2014 Corvette Stingray. It's just like, oh
Ready,
my
ready.
god,
Oh,
look at
there
that
it is.
thing. It's just I never used to like Corvettes. I was never into them, but the redesign for the 2014 is just, I love the fucking headlights. I love the lines on it. It's just a gorgeous car. I want it.
Way too much damn money.
Yeah, it's pretty pricey, but yeah, that's kind of to be expected. But look at that! Look at it! Look at it! It's in the dark, and it looks like it wants to eat you. Speaking of someone that looks like he wants to eat you, let's get. All right, there we go. Anyway, yes, Dodger.
I just want, before we go to a break, I just want to say I'm going to find a way to not have this camera be moving when we come back from the break. I just want everybody to know,
That
because
would be
every
nice,
time
'cause I'm
I
starting to
go
get a
and
bit
see the
sick.
chat, everybody's like, God, Dodger's camera is so annoying today. I'm gonna fix it.
Whee! Yeah.
I'm gonna
That would be a
fix it.
perfect time to go to the break. When
Don't
we
worry.
come back, we will hopefully have a more stable Dodger, although we have been trying for that for the last 50 episodes. It's not worked out so well so far. Just saying. And we'll probably talk about PlayStation 4 for the rest of the show, because there's a shitload to cover. We have a lot of trailers for you. We have no less than 5 trailers that we're going to show you in full. including the Toblerone robot trailer. Just, I'm sorry. I watched a great recap. A big shout out to the person who I've forgotten the name of. I'll have it in a second. Big shout out to you've got to go watch this video. If you don't want to watch the 2-hour PlayStation conference, don't worry. On youtube.com/videogamertv, Matt Lees has an abridged version, which is fucking hilarious. It's 3 minutes 22 of the most British comedy you will ever see. In fact, just go watch it during the break. You've got nothing better to do. Seriously. Like, this thing right here, I've just linked it in chat. It's going to be in the description below this video. Go watch the fucking video. It's great. It's hilarious. I'm not going to show it. It's like, here, I'm going to show this video without permission. I'm a dick. No, I'm not going to do that. Go watch it and give him ad revenue, you dicks.
Oh, dear.
Dicks. Right.
Dear.
Okay. You're watching the TGS podcast. We're classy and very polite here. We'll be right back after these short messages.
Be right back!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Game Station Podcast, the more reliable version. Where's the wood? I need to touch that. I need a 4-leaf clover. No, you don't know the expression "touch wood," do you?
Touch wood?
Yeah, touch wood. Is that
Knock on
must
wood.
be an English thing.
Is that
you have knock on wood. Yeah, we just got touch
knock
wood.
on wood? Just
Yeah,
touch wood?
I was just
That
touch
is
wood.
Way more sexual.
We can't-
I'm just throwing that
As I
out
say,
there.
we can't be fucked with the whole knocking thing. You know, knocking's pretty sexual as well. You know,
Just-
knocking boots.
Just
that-
brush it lightly.
yes.
You respect the wood.
Stroke wood.
Press the wood.
I just
Stroke
want to
wood.
rub up on some wood. Is what I want.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
British people just love to touch wood. What can we say? You know, we're good at it.
I'll be there in a month.
Yep. Want to get lucky, then we touch wood. This
Oh my
is not going
gosh,
anywhere
that's
good.
so soon.
You're going to England? Why?
GamoCon.
GamoCon.
Oh, yeah, they invited me to that, and I said, you ain't getting me no playing fool. Sorry.
I was
Haters
supposed to
gonna
go to
hate.
We're going.
Paradox Interactive had this thing a couple weeks ago. They
In
invited
Iceland?
me to go to Iceland, and I was
Yeah,
like,
Angry
"Oh
Joe
yeah, my passport, crap."
Oh.
I haven't
It's
left the
hilarious
country since I was 12.
So many Americans don't have passports. It's so funny. It's
Yeah.
like pretty much everyone in Britain has one. Even my mother
it's-
has one. She's never left the country.
It's because we don't ever need it. Like, for the longest, even to go to
Say.
Canada or Mexico, you didn't need it. And not until 9/11 did that all change. Thanks, terrorists, you assholes. And so now you need it to pretty much do anything. So
Hell, if
yeah.
even I want to go into mainland Europe, even by train, I still need my passport. You know, they can't stop me, but they
Yeah.
still demand that they see the passport. So yeah, we pretty much all have that. But yeah, there you go. All right, well, let's talk PS4, shall we? Because that's pretty much going to be the rest of the show. We have a lot of trailers to show you, but we're going to talk about system first. So 3 of the 4 of us watched the conference, and Dodger's okay because she watched the abridged version. So that's pretty much the same thing.
It was pretty good.
Never
I
stop
feel like
pretending to be a
I
dragon.
basically watched it.
Although I gotta say, it's super accurate. The Jonathan Blow section, like explosions
yeah.
are boring. It's like, yep, ropes,
That's
guns.
literally how he started. We should do this in order, but that's literally how he started. His section's like, I don't have explosions like everyone else. Like, fuck you, hipster. Like, what a dude.
To be fair, Jonathan Blow was one of the least pretentious parts of the PlayStation 4 conference, which is something that
sad.
shouldn't happen. It's like
The
having
funniest part, though,
Phil Fish be the voice of reason.
the chat. What I love is you can tell who was watching it, who was really interested, because when things like Killzone or the infamous one of the, like when those came up, everyone was like, "Oh shit, yeah!" And when the new like whatever that's called, like Mystery Touch or whatever the hell the new
What?
Jason Blow game is, what's this
Jason
game
Blow?
called?
You're just making this up. It's not one called Jason Blow. It's not called Mystery Touch. What the fuck is wrong with you? It's like Jason Blow, his new game Mystery Touch on the PlayStation 7. Jesse Cox, hard-hitting games journalism. Fuck you, Jesse. You're not even trying anymore. What the hell's wrong with you?
No, really.
Jason Blow, Mystery Touch.
Oh.
I better rub on some wood because this is gonna be a long.
Oh, great.
Oh,
That's-
Jonathan.
Ah, yes,
Whatever.
Jonathan Blow. Yeah.
Whatever
Anyway,
else-
again, we're
what
not
else they
talking.
do.
We're not talking about that. Let's talk about the fucking hardware first.
All right, and
So
yeah, we'll get to that.
the first thing We don't know what it looks like because they didn't bother to show us at all.
I thought that was so weird.
They
I
didn't say
know
it was Wii U, though,
anything.
right?
I, at the end, just didn't care because it hit me no matter what. And that's the video you linked us is exactly right. In the end, it's just going to be a black square. So no one gives a shit. Like,
Yes. Like,
really, they didn't need to show us because no one cares what it looks like. You're going to buy it anyway.
and if you're
you
going
look
to put
at
it
the
under
giant
your television,
penis,
you're not going to
you're
look at it ever again.
Yeah.
People do care what it looks like, though. It doesn't matter
why?
what it looks like, but people do care.
I mean,
I
don't
don't
get me
know
wrong.
why.
We used to make jokes about the PS3 being a Breville sandwich toaster, but still, we didn't really give a shit. We were just ribbing for the sake of it, right?
Yeah. No one cares what it looks like. They just want to know what it looks like.
They're just curious.
There's a big difference. Yeah. They care about knowing.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, maybe that's the right way to put it. They care about knowing. They feel slighted that they sat through an entire thing
I didn't get the payoff at the end.
and
as what the
didn't
bloody
get that
thing
payoff
looks
at
like.
the end where they're like, and here it is.
I don't know. The
Yeah.
payoff at the end for me was dub vibrations in my brain. The best outro ever.
Can you link that song to me? Because now
Link
I
it.
really
I-
want to know what it
I
actually
tweeted it like
sounds
12 times yesterday. I was like, by the way, remember,
only have Twitter on my phone right now.
don't worry, I'll send it to you after we're done.
Thank you.
So
Never mind.
let's talk about the actual specs of the thing and their bullshit buzzwords. Supercharged PC GP. No, it isn't.
Like a car?
Yeah, it's like this is
Like
blast
what?
processing all over again. So you can see on the screen right here, supercharged PC architecture. No, it isn't. Like that's
Remember-
silly. Let's not talk about that.
Today, we're going to show you something really spectacular. That was my favorite line from the entire thing. I'm sorry. It was wonderful. It's like, today, it sounded like, today we are going to show you something really. I
Was
like, this
that
guy's
was that one of the
best.
Japanese speakers?
No, that was like the intro to the entire thing. I guess he flubbed a line or something. And it was
apparently. It's like, I didn't notice that. I completely did not
Oh, yeah.
notice that.
That's one of the first things I heard and was like when I loaded in, when I finally got to play, he's like, too gay? I was like, oh god, it's gonna be one of those.
All right, so what we do, there are some things that we do know about it. We know that, in fact, they have actually released the full tech specs of this thing. So we do know that it's running on an x86-based CPU. This is kind of a good thing because it's not crazy like the Cell was, and it's not a pain in the ass to port for or to code for. x86 is what we've been using on PC for the last 3 decades.
Yeah.
Yep.
So and that's mostly right, I think. Yeah, I think x86 was actually a technology that started in the 80s. So I think we're pretty much right there. And that could mean a few things. One, it could mean that developing for PS4 and PC simultaneously is a fuckload easier. It could also mean that it's a lot easier to port. Something to consider there. So, you know, this might be good.
That's such a big problem that the PlayStation 3 had with developers having such a hard time porting to the system because it's so much more difficult to deal with than the 360 was. So it's good that they're kind of thinking, hey, we shouldn't make this more difficult for developers so they can get their
Yeah.
games over to our consumer base.
I actually went back. Oh, sorry, go for
I
it.
was going to say, we don't know if it's an x86 64 yet. It's entirely possible that it could be, but they just didn't bother to mention that. So it's hard to say. But you know, for those who don't know, that of course would be 64-bit, like true 64-bit. It seems unlikely that it wouldn't be, considering this thing's got 8 gigs of RAM in it. Yeah? And I don't know much about about architecture in general, but what I will say is that I know 32-bit Windows had a problem using more than 4 gigs of RAM. I have to wonder if that's something to do with the x86 architecture or if it's just Windows being shit. I don't know. It's hard to say, but it would be kind of weird if it is x86 related and they then just stick 8 gigs of RAM in it. It's like, but you can only use 4. What the fuck? So I don't know. It could be 64. It might not be. We don't know that yet.
Have you shown this? I haven't seen the screen yet, but those are the legit specs of the thing that are just like in numbers if people care.
I haven't shown that on the screen, no, because that's actually more difficult than you might think. But
Green region.
actually, no, I don't even have to screen region. Yeah, it's okay. I could show the specs. Why don't you talk about the specs, Jesse, while I actually show these guys?
Well, the specs are I mean, I don't.
Oh wait,
Just
you
his
don't know
forte.
anything about
Just
this.
his
know
forte.
anything about these. No, I mean, you're asking me to talk
God,
about
I
stuff
really
have
dropped
no
you in it.
clue
I feel
about.
like an asshole, and then also not. It's just like,
Oh,
why don't you talk
it's-
about PC
well,
architecture, Jesse?
What
Tell
I
me
can
what you
talk
know.
about is you missed several wonderful quotes from the beginning of this that I tweeted about. I'm glad I tweeted about them.
Okay. Yeah.
First off, the entire event started with a thing that was like, "We were born renegades." Like, really, Sony?
Yeah,
That's what you're going with?
Sony are the guys that I imagine when I think Renegade, really.
And then they had about a 15-minute segment to remind us that the PS Vita existed and that we should buy it.
Yep.
And in order to do that, they said, remember, we have PS Vitas. And immediately after that, they go, oh, and also we had Unfinished Swan and Journey. So, like, in case you were wondering why we're so awesome.
Yeah.
And then they had what might be my favorite part of the entire event. He's like, today we will show you our Genesis. And that was like the line. I was like, what?
Yeah, it's like,
Like
oh,
1994? What is happening?
oh.
And then my new
There you go.
buzzword was teraflop. He's like, we have over a teraflop of information. I was like, what does that even mean?
Well, teraflop is actually a legitimate measurement. I mean, that's been around for a while. We've known
That is
about
a
teraflops for a while.
Funny ass word though. Can we
Yes.
all agree?
I will give you that. Yeah.
If you use the word teraflop enough and the PlayStation 4 sucks, people are going to call it a teraflop. I want that to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. I want it to be like, look, the PlayStation 4 was a teraflop. Boom. Because that is an amazing word.
You're right, and you're just, oh, okay, so according to this, by the way, they're saying this is an x86-64. So people that have said that it's not, these are the official specs. So apparently it is an x86-64 because they would be dumb as hell for it not to be. So fine. You know, it's an AMD CPU, 8-core. For AMD, that means 8 physical cores, by the way, because AMD, like, we want to put more cores in. You know, their bulldozer stuff was like 8 cores as well.
Notice it says 1.8 T-flops. You get 1.8 teraflops. Get them T-flops. T-flops is a great rap name, by the way.
T-flops, yeah.
T-flops.
Oh my goodness.
That would work. But, I mean, that's okay. I mean, teraflops is, again, a legitimate piece of information. Telling me how fast it is in clock speed and shit like that is utterly useless. That ceased to be useful when we moved to dual-core and quad-core architecture. We don't care about raw clock speed anymore. It's irrelevant. What really interests me is the fact that they have 8 gigs of GDDR5 on this thing, which is actually crazy. If you think about the current consoles, they're on the PS3 has 256 physical system memory, 256 graphical memory, 512 shared, I think, for the Xbox 360. Going up to 8 gig is crazy enough. Putting GDDR5 in it, which is actually crazy fast, that is an interesting move. A very interesting move.
That when you think about it, and this is something that not many people think about, that's what we're using right now, is basically 512. Like, we're at megabytes on our old systems. That's nuts.
That is
That's-
pretty crazy.
It is kind of ridiculous.
It has a USB 3 in it. Is that what they're putting there?
Mm.
You get a USB 3 and
Good. Well, that's really nice if you want to connect an external hard drive and you want it to not suck, because obviously
Yeah.
USB 3 is much, much faster. So that's good. Obviously built-in Bluetooth, built-in Ethernet Wi-Fi by the looks of it. What I like, it's a faster Blu-ray drive, by the way. That's a 6 times. I'm pretty sure it was only a 4 times in the PlayStation 3. Let me see if that is correct. I think I'm correct. Yes. Yeah. It's 4 times. So it's a faster Blu-ray drive, which is kind of a big deal. I remember... Do you guys remember buying faster CD drives, like up to 52 times, when you got super excited about that in your old PC builds? Because I do.
Yeah.
yep.
One of
Especially
my
for-
oldest PCs had a 4 times in it. And then I upgraded to a 52. Like, oh, the load times are incredible. And funnily enough, this has ceased to be a factor for PC gamers because we run all our shit off hard drives now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for consoles, this is still a thing. Something we should consider there.
Huh.
Well, there
Yeah, I
you
hadn't
go.
thought about that.
Yeah.
See, now I'm not excited. I'm really excited. Thank God I'm going to E3. I'm so excited. This is gonna be a great summer. Wonderful summer. I can't wait to touch it. I'm as excited as the car guy. I can't wait
What?
to feel it. I want the sensations. I just want to touch it.
I do wonder if they're going to have. I mean, I'm certain they're going to show stuff, but I do wonder if they're going to have playable demos of PS4 at E3.
I can't imagine that they wouldn't. I mean, by then, especially with Microsoft doing their announcement, it seems so unlikely that they wouldn't.
Right.
And Square.
Oh god, yeah.
Don't forget
there will be a
them.
Final Fantasy game, but we're not going to tell you that yet because we're dicks.
Troll just what assholes.
God damn it. The worst thing is, it's going to be another 13. It's going to be another one.
Don't say that. No.
Yeah, we know we want. It's either going to be 15 or it's going to be 7 HD, and hopefully it's not 7 HD. That would be silly, especially since we're getting 10 HD already on the Vita and the PS3. So it's like, well, really, that's a bit disappointing for a lot of people, but we'll see. So, system specs wise, the other interesting thing about it is the controller, which looks something like that, as you can see. So, this is very similar to the prototype leaks that we saw. It is the DualShock 4. The big changes are the front touch panel, the share button, and the light on the back, which is basically adapted from the PlayStation Move, and will sync up with a stereoscopic camera, which is kind of similar to the Kinect, only without the laser shit, and it basically turns the pad into a Move, yeah? So you can do the same thing, but without the big colored lollipop. And
it's going to be kind of weird with that controller. You're just going to be, like, waving it around.
How do you, like, utilize that in a way where it's not obnoxious? I don't get it.
It's so weird. They said that the room, like, basically there's a panel now similar to pretty much all the other consoles, and so it tells you where you are within your room, and that's how you're supposed to play stuff. It is basically, it's constantly watching you. Your machine's watching you.
That's a bit concerning.
Okay,
yeah,
so
you can see that big black box on the screen right there. It's apparently their new PlayStation Eye, which is kind of halfway between the PlayStation Eye webcam and a Kinect, because it's got two cameras this time, and it sort of scans your room.
Wait, so the light on the controller is like a beacon, that it can find you, and then you just use it like a Kinect? Is that the idea?
Kind of. I mean, well, it's more.
So you
like
don't
the
have
Move.
to be touching.
Because the PlayStation.
We don't know.
The PlayStation Move was what we think it is up to this point is it's the same tech that was in the PlayStation Move, which is the PS3 with the 6-axis already had gyroscopic controls in it, right? But you don't use it for much because it's dreadful. Yeah. The PlayStation Move was a lot better at that. It had way, way better motion control, but it also had that big lollipop glowy thing on the top. And it used the PlayStation Eye with that to give you that kind of positional stuff. It also used it as a chroma key so that it could turn it into, like, if a sword or a cricket bat or a tennis racket or something like that. You know, we saw that in the original demos. So it's dual purpose. They can't really do the chroma keying stuff with this, because it's just kind of a light in the middle of the controller. That would be super weird. And as you said, it's really bizarre. The way that you would actually hold it is odd, to say the least. But what I do like is the fact that they're comboing it with a controller that's decent, and you don't have to buy separate hardware and peripherals for this stuff.
Yeah, I wonder if that means the controller is going to cost like $100 now, though. With
I
all that extra
recall,
tech.
They also said because of the controller, now it will, rather than having to log in or whatever, based on you, the controller, and your location in the room, and the cameras, it immediately knows who you are when you play.
Yeah.
And so you're immediately on.
Okay.
Useful for families and maybe housemates as well that have a PS4 in their front room. Definitely, because you get past a little bit of hassle there. Although, of course, there are certain privacy concerns about this thing having a bloody camera that scans your room, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Your entire room, not like an area. It's like, like all over your room. Basically, to figure out what you're playing in.
It also doesn't really seem like this thing is optional. We don't know a lot about the pad yet, because they talked about its functionality, but they didn't confirm whether or not you had to have this camera thing running all the time in order for it to actually work. I mean, there was the leaks about, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, about the Xbox, said that you might have to have the Kinect always plugged in order to actually have the thing even turn on. We don't know if this is the same.
Yeah, it's some scary Big Brother shit right there. I don't want Sony spying on me all day.
That's actually a really good point, which I think is funny, because later on they parodied the whole aspect of, like, watching you constantly. Seriously, in the beginning, because they show this camera and they brush over it real quick, like, oh yeah, this is the thing we're gonna use. It's gonna be
like, oh, whoa.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
And then later on, in the exact same, like, big presentation, there's a guy who spends 15 minutes like, in a world where everything you do is being watched. It's like, whoa, hold up.
Yes. Maybe you'll be able to scan your fingerprint on the controller as I die.
Well, that was overly
Sony
dramatic.
doesn't want me to say this.
Very much like the intro to Infamous, but there you go. Anyway,
yeah.
it's... Yeah, they did very much gloss over that part, didn't they? Which is, again, I want to know, do we need it? Is it like a sensor bar on a Wii where you actually don't need the bloody thing at all for most things, and you can actually literally replace it with candles or not even have it plugged in, and most games work just fine? Or is it like, you need this in order to make it work? Like, I don't think you can use a PlayStation Move without the eye plugged in. Pretty sure you can't, for all of my experience with it. And again, I'm a big proponent of the PlayStation Move. I think it's the best motion controller we have. It's accurate. It can be used to play real games instead of stupid dance shit. And
Hold on, though. I mean, that's what they showed, though. They're like, by the way, you can move and draw trees and dicks.
This is the fucking weird thing, right? That they also showed the PlayStation Move, yet the functionality of the Move is in the current pad. So apparently they're going to grandfather the tech. You're going to be able to use your existing PlayStation Move with the PlayStation 4, which I might add is great for anyone that bought the bloody thing in the first place. So you're not wasting the technology. But that's the only time they ever showed the Move in the entire conference. In fact, I'm sure I can eventually find it. Sorry, I'm having to dig through like 2 hours of footage here. But
I mean, that's the crazy thing is what the story they had for the Move portion was like, create your dreams and you can make realities in minutes. And so it's them creating
because Media
things.
Molecule is quite literally crazy. Like, they're out of their minds in a really cool way.
They're creating like trees and worlds, and everyone on the internet's like, I can make penises. And so,
of course, yeah, because, they're super original.
And then they're like, so we made this world in a matter of minutes, and they show you this amazing architecture they built. And then they're like, so here's a demonstration. And it starts with two guys going like this with their moves, and it's two characters dancing. And then it like it's becomes borderline weird as an old man's trying to like show off on a guitar to this little girl, and then it breaks onto a rock concert, and then there are people drumming with Move controllers, and then they bow at the end. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
No problem.
No one had a clue.
Don't worry, we could share this experience with the world if I can. God damn it.
Guys,
this is like 2 hours of footage to skip through. I'll find it. I'll find it.
This is the beginning of our game where you make people's dreams and kill them.
The funny thing was, like, he started the presentation by, it's like, what if you could see inside people's dreams? So, like, holy shit. And then they're like, oh, okay. What you really meant was...
This tech in general, it still doesn't impress me. There's so many variables, and having to get the lighting right and your position in the room, and just for the most part, with the exception of party games, I don't think dancing around, like, that's not what I want to do when I play a video game. If I want to, there's no point in time that I ever really want to dance. But if I did want to dance, I wouldn't be doing it in front of my TV screen. I'm more interested in, like, the Oculus Rift for, like,
you can
future.
dance if you want to.
But I don't.
Can leave your friends behind.
You could leave your friends behind.
Yeah.
I'm just not into this tech. I'm really interested in seeing like where things like the Oculus Rift go, but dancing in front of a monitor or cameras that are staring at me all the time, to have a character dance on screen, it doesn't sound. No.
Look at your screen right now. Look at the actual what TV's showing you. That's not dancing. That's just a dude moving back and forth like this with his ice cream cone.
I just don't even know what this is. Nobody did either. Like, this whole thing went down, and what I really wanted from this conference was a camera that pointed at the journalists' faces while this was going on. I'm like, and I just wanted to sit there. What the fuck is happening?
It was like nonsense.
It's just like, what is this?
Nobody wants this.
See, look, this person's playing the keyboard, but not by drumming. You're playing the keyboard. How is that even connected? Is this person thinking about it?
This is what I think this is. Yeah, this is not actually a game. This is sort of more like a creative studio, and it sort of spins off of what Little Big Planet does. And what they've done here is they've created a bunch of assets, and apparently they used the Move to do it, because they showed the sculpting thing. They probably didn't use the Move to do that, but it would take way too long. But what they then did was give it some interactivity, which allowed you to essentially play marionettes with it, yeah? And is there any purpose to it? Well, potentially, because with the share button, that thing suddenly becomes a machinima movie, right? It becomes, you've just made a CG movie that you then just upload to YouTube with this share button. And I can see the usefulness of it. It's not a game, but it's still creative. Yeah, sorry about that. I think my internet fell over. It's okay, we're good. Everything's fine. Relax. That was
It kicked
unpleasant.
all of us, though.
Yeah, it's like it wasn't just me, like, by the looks of it. I don't know what happened there. Something weird. So there was a disturbance in the force. But anyway, we were talking about silly marionette things. I think it's more of a creative tool than anything else.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And that actually segues us nicely onto the fucking share button. So this is
What is that? Tell me.
All right,
Explain.
so you press that share button, and the functionality is apparently the console's sort of recording all of your gameplay as you're going along. And if something really cool happens in the game, you hit share, you have the ability to kind of rewind back to where you were, kind of quickly create a clip, and then shove it onto YouTube or Facebook video.
Do we know that?
That's what they
put it on
specifically
YouTube?
mentioned.
I'm pretty sure that's YouTube.
Okay, all I know for certain, because they pimped the shit out of it, is that Ustream is where we're gonna let you stream all this
Streaming, yes. They're allowing streaming on Ustream, which, you know, suddenly a million voices at Twitch TV cried out in terror, right? I mean, it's good for us because, again, we need more competition in the space. So putting Ustream back on the map for that's a service we used to use for gaming a long time ago. That's cool. Hopefully that means they will up their game when it comes to the feature set. But you can stream, it seems like you can stream pretty much any game with a webcam with some basic functionality directly from your console, which is something that they've been working on. Very recent games like Black Ops 2 have allowed you to do that to Twitch, but this apparently is like the entire console just lets you do that, which is kind of bonkers when you think about it.
That's good that it's like built into the hardware so developers don't have to worry about adding that to their game and everything. And
it actually, I know the comedy bit made fun of the fact that it lets you have like backseat driver status in videos.
Oh yeah,
but it actually, yes, besides the fact that it's very funny. But if you're a streamer, and I know a lot of people who do long streams or do different streams, it might actually be nice to have that feature where now I'm even more interactive with fans while I'm streaming this. That might be nice. It's not great for YouTube, mind you, because we already get enough backseat drivers as is.
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
But I feel like if you're streaming, that might be fun. It might be fun interactivity. But, yeah, who knows?
They also claim that you'd have the ability to create a so-called director status for somebody, which would allow you to directly manipulate the game itself. I can't imagine that this is something that's going to be in most games. I imagine developers would have to seriously accommodate for that. But, like, you could go into the game and kind of remove an enemy for somebody or create a platform. This is not really new because it's something that you can do on the Wii U's gamepad controller. Like,
yes.
you do that on Super Mario Brothers U. God, I hate the fact that there's a U there. It's like, it makes every sentence super awkward. Thanks, Obama. But one way or the other... I'm sorry, I'm on this thing today. I constantly find that funny. I'll get over it eventually. But anyway, on that, you can draw a platform and make it kind of easier if they're having a problem with a particular jump or whatever. So it's kind of like that, only you can do it over the internet, because PlayStation's for people that aren't in the same room, because, you know, that's for nerds, right?
One of the things they actually mentioned that I was like, okay, that's a cool feature, especially, again, for streaming. If you can imagine I'm sitting there playing a game and I'm on a boss and I'm just getting my ass handed to me repeatedly, people watching who you can then allow to help you, they can send you items or like health potions and things to make that battle easier for you. And I was like, okay, that's kind of neat.
Yeah,
I don't know if games will feature it, but the concept is neat.
It's a bigger integration of what we've been seeing with stuff like Dark Souls and stuff like Persona 4 and things like that, whereby they've had the ability to... It's multiplayer, but not, yeah? It's connected play rather than straight-up multiplayer, because a lot of what happens to you is influenced by other people, but they're not directly in your game doing stuff. Yeah, right. So the whole idea of being able to send items and things like that is very much going down that path. And I don't hate it. I think it's a pretty cool idea. It's kind of nice that you can interact with your friends without directly having to go into a game session with them and play with them. Like, it would be cool. It's cool to be able to do it in passing. instead of say, right, I've got to sit down for an hour with my friend and play this game. It's like, well, I just kind of toss them an item, and you still have that kind of interaction between people on your friends list, but you don't necessarily have to go and play games with them all the time. So it's different levels of interaction rather than either you're playing with them or you're not.
Did they give specific examples as to what sort of games and exactly what you'd be able to do, or is this all top level hypothetical kind of stuff?
They very much kind of gave examples. Yeah, I can show you it right now. Actually, this is kind of what they were doing. They allow you to jump into it, and it uses the Gaikai streaming system in order to do this. And this guy is Dave Perry, who's a fucking legend, by the way. This is the guy that made Earthworm Jim, so show damn respect. But he is now the president of Gaikai, that was bought last year, I believe, by Sony, and all of this streaming technology has been put in. And it does allow you to stream gameplay from someone else's machine and vice versa. And there's the director mode that we're talking about, the whole notion that you can literally alter the game. But again, this is all hypothetical. They didn't show an example of this in any game at all. So we don't know this. A lot of this is probably going to be developer-driven.
Yeah, because I was going to say, you sort of have to build those features into your game if you want that to...
Yeah, that's not something you can have by default.
Right.
As you can see, they've also got the idea of Ustream, which Twitter exploded when they said Ustream instead of Twitch there. But again, I'm totally fine with that. It's not like you can't stream to Twitch anyway. You just need a capture card. Yeah?
They should do it on owned. Oh, right. I
will say.
Yeah. Wow.
I will say though.
Just think about, just before you say that, Jesse, just think about what would have happened if Owned had stayed around for a few more months and Sony had been tricked into that. PS4 will stream on Owned, and then Owned shuts down. They're like, oh no. That would have been hilarious. Okay, Jesse, sorry, go ahead.
I watched the press conference on Ustream yesterday.
Yeah, I did.
And the PlayStation channel they had there, which I thought was kind of funny, they actually had like a legit channel. It was averaging 500,000 viewers, and they had a 2.5 million viewer cap. And people were like, "Oh, it's lagging, it's horrible."
It wasn't that bad. It was
except
pretty
for
good.
when they switched over to the in-game footage.
Yes.
Everything else was like perfect.
Yeah.
In-game footage lagged like hell. But everything else was
that happens to
spot
us.
on.
That's probably going to happen to us today on Twitch as well. Basically, what happens is streams are sent at a variable bit rate because you don't want to stream more than you actually need to, right? So, like right now, for instance, our webcam stream, according to this, is going at about 800k per second, which is not a lot, but we don't have a huge amount of high motion video. We've got a lot of low resolution stuff. Stop that, Dodger.
Sorry.
The bitrate literally went up when you did that.
Just wanted to give an example.
Stop it! God damn it!
Okay, we're done.
My
Gonna
bitrate's
crash
now
the
to a
stream
megabyte.
again.
No, it's fine. My connection can handle that unless it breaks. But one way or the other, that's what happens in streams. And when you go suddenly to full motion 1080p video, it means that you got to go really, really high bitrate all of a sudden. And streaming providers at that point crap out. And this is the problem we had with the podcast, and we'll probably have it today as well when I show trailers. It happens every now and again when you have VBR on. So, yeah, it's understandable. Ustream didn't do a bad job. With 500,000 people were watching that fucking thing. And for the most part, I didn't have too many problems. Every now and again, I got a freeze. Like, at the start, it was a bit janky, but then it straightened out. They obviously, made the hamsters run faster. But it was all right. And, I mean, the streaming from console, sure. I have no interest in doing it, but I'm cool that it's there. That's fine.
It was definitely it's again the fact that it exists means that they're trying to make the community sort of grow and be more interactive and have fun together. I won't be doing it.
Yeah, it's super good news, by the way, for anyone that makes money from streaming games or doing YouTube videos, because basically Sony just gave carte blanche to do that.
I was gonna say this is the really great thing. It's better they go this way than in the opposite direction, where they're like, we don't want you showing our games, copyright infringements.
Yeah, which has happened every now and again.
Yeah.
So it seems like no, we're just gonna embrace streaming because we realize that it's free fucking advertising for our games. So why the hell would we not allow people to do it? This is good news for us because we all stream. So we shouldn't be expecting hopefully any Sony lawsuits in the future. Unless they say you can't stream unless it's on Ustream, in which point I'm like, that would suck. Yeah, that would be bad because like I would link up my capture card and like, no, you can't do it because it's on Twitch. So we don't see any indication of that happening. I hope that it doesn't because that would suck. But yeah, it's definitely yeah. But let's talk about the negatives of sharing. One, we're all antisocial bastards, and we don't want to share, and we don't want to see other stuff. So I guess the first question is, can you turn any of this off? We don't know. We actually have no idea. You'd think so.
I mean, there's also just plenty of people that don't want help while they're playing a game.
Oh, well, I assume that's completely optional, because being able to force you into a friend's game, it's like, let me help you out here, bro. That would be the worst thing ever.
I'd be like, go away. It would always be that friend that's like really obnoxious too. They're like, hey, what are you doing? Are you playing a game? Oh my gosh, I've totally beaten this guy like 1,000,000 times. Let me tell you what happens. And you'd be like, so upset.
That's the one thing I will say that Wii U has in a few of its games perfectly is once you beat a level, say for example in Mario, if you want, you can leave a little note. And so people who turn that function on can see what you say on how to beat that level.
Right.
That's more along the lines of what I would take, rather than like, hey, bro, I see you're dying repeatedly on that boss. Let me help you.
Block.
Like, yeah, like instant block.
What, all of that? Yeah, all of that
I
off.
hit it on accident. I don't know why.
Yeah. Also, let's not have the ability to accidentally turn our camera on and show what we're doing in the room at the time by accidentally pressing the share button. Because holy crap, the potential problems that could have.
Lots of ball itching. What? Oh, yeah, this is a great game. Oh, hi.
Oh.
That's the most mildest scenario that I can personally think of.
I'm going to get that. What is that? That CU? What is that damn thing we found last week?
The dick controller?
The juicy?
The juicy.
Yeah, let's not
Oh,
have
God.
a combination of that with the share button. There will be a new version of it which has a share button on it.
That is true, though. That, like, the easier that they make it to stream, the more of those situations are going to happen where they're like, oh, so-and-so who is a pro gamer in this accidentally left on a stream while doing this.
It already happens.
It happens all the time, and I'm like,
It happened in WoW. There was like, I'm pretty sure he was either masturbating or he was actually having sex, and he left his camera on.
There are two different dudes. One of them, brought up porn, thought that he had
turned his thing off
taken
and
down
was
his
jacking off.
stream and brought up porn, was like, oh yeah. And then there was another dude whose girlfriend came over, and he was like, hey baby, and they totally just like went at it.
Oh yeah, they forgot about
that wasn't for stream revenue or anything. Absolutely
She's really
not.
into it. I'm sorry, I don't.
Following in the steps of Kim Kardashian. Kicking off her career.
In all the wrong ways.
Don't you make fun of that girl. She's a sweetheart.
Oh, damn.
Apparently, Force, you got a little bit boomy. Can you knock about 10% off your volume? Sorry.
Right.
Anyway, yes. I would hope that you could turn all the sharing stuff off. That's...
Yeah.
I mean, I can definitely see times when I'd want it, and then there's times when I definitely don't. I'm the kind of person that has nobody on my friends list for PlayStation 3 because I only play single-player games, and I have no interest in playing multiplayer on console. Anything I want to do multiplayer, I'll do on PC. And I also turn my friends list off on Steam as well most of the time. So, like, I don't want to be bothered. I just want to play. So, hopefully you can turn all that off. I don't see any evidence that you can't. I mean, you could turn it all off on the PS3 as well, but... It also leads into the whole, is this thing going to be permanently online? We don't know yet. Right. Which is kind of strange. What exactly do we know about that? Not a lot. It seems like a lot of it would need to be connected to the internet, but is it optional or is it always on? They didn't say that. I
feel like that's such a big thing that they would have felt like they would have had to announce it, or maybe they just didn't because they didn't want to scare people away. But
that's kind of why the same reason that they didn't show the camera all that much, right? Because I think they were pretty sure that it would cause a negative reaction, so they kind of glossed over it.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. I wonder if that's like a package thing, like a higher level PS4, or if that's built into the base unit for every single one of them.
Seems like you kind of have to have it.
Yeah, especially since it's built to the controller. I guess that makes sense. It's going to be in every system. So I don't know. It's a tough thing. I don't. It's just like any conversation when it comes to DRM. It's like, is the infrastructure there? Is it worth it for them to do it?
Yep. Oh, apparently, yeah, they did manage to get a quote out of them. It wasn't as part of the art, as part of the thing itself, but there's a bunch of interviews after it. And they said, yeah, you can go offline totally. Social is, funny quote is, social is big for us, but we understand there are some people who are anti-social. So if you don't want to connect it to anyone else, that's fine, you can do that. Yep, totally. Don't. How did you know? It's like you're almost inside my mind there. It's like, yep, totally. Leave me alone, I'm playing console games.
How did you know you have a large base of people who don't like talking to others? That's weird.
Yeah, so yeah, that actually just came. That was an article that just came out today, like an hour ago. So I think I can be forgiven for not seeing it. But yeah, it's good. You can turn that off, which I assume also means you can turn off or customize how much social stuff you want to do. Because occasionally, yeah, I might want to indulge in that, but I don't really want it on all the time, and I certainly don't want to see what are your friends doing today. It's like, no, I just want to play video games. I don't want. If I want to see what my friends doing, I'll load Twitter. I don't want it on my console. Go away. That'll be nice. Yeah.
Speaking of the, you might have planned on touching on this anyway, but speaking of the like always online or not always online thing, did they talk about cloud streaming in place of backwards compatibility and all that?
Yeah. So this is some they did and then they also didn't. Yeah. So they it's another one that was kind of glossed over and leaves a few questions in mind. So this is what we know for a fact. It's not backwards compatible because this thing doesn't have a cell chip in it. Yeah. So you can't do full backwards compatibility. Maybe you could do some kind of software emulation, but they haven't said a damn thing about that, so it seems very unlikely. And even if they did, then it would probably be bad like the 360s and not fully compatible and have a lot of problems. What they have said is that you will be able to play PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 games using a streaming service. So you can use Gaikai for it. What they didn't say was whether or not and how you would actually pay for that. Yeah. So, how would
PlayStation subscription?
Would it be PlayStation Plus? Would you have to? Would you rent games? The best case scenario, which I find very unlikely, is that you put in your PS3 disc, and it then authenticates it, and then it gives you a stream of that game from the Gaikai servers. Very unlikely to happen. Cost them a bunch of money.
I'm being told right now that they confirmed it was a Gaikai sub. You have to subscribe to that service.
Subscription. When did they confirm that? Do I have a source for that?
I just was told that. I'll get you the source if I can.
Yeah, we need a source. Yeah, this is stuff that was we're talking about the stuff that was said in the conference, and then a bunch of stuff has kind of come out afterwards because of all the interviews and stuff. So you're gonna have to forgive us if we're a little bit behind on the information. If there is a source for that, then that's great. But again, as I was saying, the ideal circumstance would be, I want to play Metal Gear Rising on my PlayStation 4. I shove the Metal Gear Rising disc into the drive, and then that sends a message to Gaikai that says, "Hey, give me Metal Gear Rising on a stream," and then it streams it. That's the ideal scenario. Is that going to happen? Fuck no. I mean, there's no way, surely.
And that's like the best we could hope for, but that's even far from ideal because if you're straight up streaming your game, latency plays a huge role. And that's why that service crashed to begin with, and they had to get bought out because it wasn't working. The infrastructure, again, isn't prevalent enough.
It's not really there, yeah. It's like, do I really want to play Metal Gear Rising on a stream? Because we're talking about a 60 frames per second game that is very much based on Twitch gameplay. It's a spectacle fighter. Would you really want to play that on a stream? We don't know how good Gaikai will be on PS4. We have no idea. That's something that we just don't have a clue about. Yeah. But I'm intrigued by it, but it's definitely far from ideal. It's not as good as full backwards compatibility. And some people ask, well, why is backwards compatibility important? Well, the reason it's important is because it encourages early adoption, because the last thing you want to do is buy a new console and have it then have no games. Like the PlayStation Vita, for instance. It has one game. Well, two. Right. Everything else is kind of like good ports. I mean, great ports, don't get me wrong. Like Ultimate Marvel on that and Mortal Kombat on that system are just freaking fantastic. Like, great system for portable fighters. Best system ever made for portable fighters. But they're still the same games that were on the other systems. So, as regards to original IP, no, not a lot of it. So, but it's okay, because you can get PSP games, and you can play a bunch of other good PSP games on it. So, but what about the PlayStation 4 in that regard? Can I use my previous games? I mean, you can't use your previous games on the Vita unless you bought them digitally in the first place. Yeah? If they were on your PlayStation account, say you were one of the 3 people that owned a PSP Go, or you were an early adopter of the PSP store on the PSP. And yeah, you could download stuff. I bought a couple of games on my old PSP. You can use those, because they're still bound to your account. But you can't use your UMDs. So all of your discs, useless. Same with this. PlayStation 4, all of your PS3 discs, useless.
So it's kind of going to suck for their sales early on too, because so many
Potentially.
people will just, there's like, I've got all my PS3 games and sure I could play it on the PS4, but if I'm going to have to stream them, that's far from a superior, situation. So I'll just play it on the PS3 and I'll wait to buy the PS4 until a year from now when the price drops. That's what I feel like a lot of people are going to say.
Yeah. Some people are claiming the PSN games won't transfer to PS4. Well, I mean, of course they won't because they won't work. That's not going to happen. But I don't think they're going to provide a streaming system for it either. I think what it's probably going to mean is that less people decide to trade in their PlayStation 3s for PlayStation 4s because they lose their entire back catalog of games. Plus, we should bear in mind that there's always that transition period where people are like, do I want to make my game for the next gen console? I don't know. There's how many, like 79 million PlayStation 3s in homes? That's a pretty big installed user base. You can still guarantee sales on those consoles. So there's going to be, I think, an even longer transition period over here, especially without that backwards compatibility. I wouldn't be surprised to see the PS3 and the Xbox 360 be healthy 2 years down the line.
Yeah, I mean, we've still got huge games like Destiny, and Destiny's coming out for 360 and PS3.
Yes, it is.
And that's not going to be out till 2014.
Witcher 3 was announced for PS4, by the way, not PS3. There we go.
Okay, take this however you will, but apparently David Perry, in an email to pre-alpha testers, said that was going to be the case, but no one can show you because it's NDA'd. But they told us anyway, so take it how you will. All right, that's where that comes from.
Okay, so
Right.
we don't necessarily know then. All right, well, we'll have to wait and see on that, I think. But I think probably the biggest black mark I have against the PlayStation 4 so far is a complete lack of backwards compatibility. And I do have... It's only on principle that I'm saying this. For me, I actually don't give a shit. I'll just keep my PS3. Oh, that was hard. Yeah, I'll just keep that under my television. I just plug another HDMI cable in. Jesus, what an odyssey that was. But for a lot of people, they'll trade in their PS3 because it makes the PS4 more affordable. And that often meant more early adopters. I know this because I worked at GameStore for 3 years, and I did like 4 console launches in that time. And I know the sheer number of people that traded in their old systems for the new one. And it helped them save a lot of money. And buying a new console is expensive, especially if this thing ends up being as expensive as the PlayStation 3 was on launch.
That's what I did. Sold all my old stuff. I regret it, but I sold all of it in order to get my I think it was a 360 at the time.
I traded in my PlayStation 2 and all of my games for a 360, and I felt like a dum-dum for doing that.
Yeah.
At least for a while, anyway, until Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter Fight Night Round 3, and then Oblivion came out for it. And I'm like, oh, I'm fine now. It's cool. Don't worry. Things are fine. But yeah, it's a potential downside for a lot of people. You've got to consider that.
Didn't we talk about this in our last the Mystery Lost episode? Because I feel like we had this conversation where it was brought up that, hey, this is something
there were
they're
leaks.
potentially going to do.
Yeah, there were leaks that said that it probably, and in fact, like that's the same thing that's been coming out of the 720 leaks as well, the Durango stuff, that it's not going to be backwards compatible. So seems to be the thing. The Wii U is kind of the only thing that is right now, which is, and that's kind of weird. I mean, and it's a big kick in the teeth, I feel, for people that bought a lot of arcade games on Xbox Live. It just means they're going to have to hold on to their old machines, and I don't know. It's not great. It's definitely not a plus side for consumers.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting launch. The thing that's different now than with the last console launch is that so many people nowadays are buying these new, $400 or $500 phones every couple of years and getting a lot of their entertainment and gaming through that, like the casual consumer. Whereas back when the 360 and the PS3 launched, that really wasn't the case for a majority of people. But everyone's got a phone now. I feel like almost everyone has an iPhone. So that's a lot of extra spending money that people might not want to throw into this next generation of consoles if they're satisfied with the PS3 and the 360. And especially if it's going to be hard to carry your games over, if you're going to have to stream everything, it's going to make things more difficult.
You give them the one good, just same thing with Wii U. People are like, it's not selling a lot. You give them one good game on a Wii U, people will buy it. Same thing with the PS3 or the 720 or whatever it's called. No matter what, you find that one good game people want, they'll buy the system for that game. And it's just a matter of finding what it is. I don't know if we saw it at the press conference, but eventually
there were definitely some games that we'll be showing trailers of momentarily that could be that killer app potentially. But Force definitely has a great point, but I would counter by saying potentially that the whole killer app thing doesn't really work so much outside Japan anymore. But it's been so long since we had a generation of console, it's really hard to say. Back when the 360 came out, I was selling them at a store, and I know for a fact that we had a massive sales spike when Graw and Fight Night Round 3 came out. Because Graw and Fight Night Round 3 were the first 2 games for that system that were streets ahead of everything else. They were a huge advancement. Compare Fight Night Round 3 on the original Xbox to the one on the Xbox 360. It was like seeing into the future. Fight Night Round 3 at the time was mind-bogglingly crazy. It was an amazing-looking game. Holy crap. It was just like, how can you have such great-looking graphics? And even at the time, it was hard to find something as good as that on a PC. And that was a huge deal, but I don't know if we're going to get that same effect this time. Especially, as you said, a lot of people are kind of, they're gaming on all sorts of different devices. They're not necessarily thinking, I need the latest and greatest anymore, because it's like, I'm okay just playing Angry Birds. Turns out I wasn't really a big gamer to begin with.
I mean, I feel like they'll be fine in the long haul, but at least for the first year or two, I think stuff like that will hurt sales, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
It could.
Until they get those big games.
Sure. But. Well, I think, is there anything else that you'd like to say about the hardware and the feature set of this thing before we take a break and then we go into the actual game trailers, which we're going to have to do over the course of about the next 30 or so minutes? Anything?
Did we talk about how David Cage is a golden god?
They brought out some great guys for that conference. David Perry, David Cage, Jonathan Blow, the crazy guy about the cars who's like, I really love cars.
I just want to reiterate. David Cage walks on stage, says, "These are the games that I've made in the past. This is what I'm working on," and it's an old man face, and then says, "Thank you," walks off, and then he goes, "Thank you, David Cage." Like, that's all he did. He brought nothing to this conference, and it was like, total badass.
But did you see that face?
That face was
that was a
like,
face.
Look at the eyes. Look at the eyes. The eyes stare at you. I'm
the premier old man simulator.
Amazing.
Oh my god, an old man simulator would be a fantastic game.
Old man simulator.
What are you doing?
That's old Jew simulator. That's not quite what we're looking for there.
That's hard mode, actually, is what it is. It's old man simulator hard mode. Like, what are you doing? Yes, the level of complaints have to increase by like 50%. It's very difficult.
This guy looks like a wizard. Like this guy could very much be a wizard. I feel it's the PlayStation abridged video was great. It's like old man with beautiful eyes. It's like he kind of does. You're right. He does have beautiful eyes.
He does have some pretty great eyeballs going on.
That's
David...
like that.
Go ahead. Sorry.
That's the best. Is before that little clip you just showed, it's literally him. He's like, this is how many pixels we could have. And this old game I made. Oh, and this other game I made, this is how many pixels we could have in that. Oh, and I made another one. This is how many pixels. It was literally just like the David Cage talking about himself moment. And then he was like, all right, well, I'm done. See you later, bitches.
And then the glorious PC Gaming Master Race is laughing because Star Citizen claims to have 100,000 polygon models, which is 3 times as many as what David Cage was talking about there. It's like, sucks to be you.
Boom.
Indeed, yeah. Glorious internet spaceships. But yeah, it was still pretty impressive tech. David Cage has got this whole we got to show emotion in games thing going on, and he's like, the technology has got to get to that point because you can't show emotion in games if you can't show intricate facial expressions. Yeah, there you go.
Word.
It reminds me every time he talks about that. Yeah, no, every time he talks about that, it reminds me of Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. How basically it was like stone-faced characters trying really hard to like act. It was horrible. It was unbearable to watch. That's how I feel about 90% of games that use that don't use like animation and instead use CGI. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Boob technology though, through the roof.
It's interesting that he seems to have the idea of you should do this by rendering and not by the technology that the LA Noire guys showed with the whole facial capture stuff. No one else has used that. Like, I have to wonder if anyone will again. That. Yeah, it's probably just too expensive, I would imagine. Yeah. Like that was some pretty hardcore stuff. That was the highlight of that game for me and for pretty much everyone else too. So it may just have something to do with that, but I think it's definitely more practical if they've got enough polygons to actually show emotion. You know, bear in mind that at 29,000 polygons, you can't show emotion at all. Can't be done. But at 30,000 polygons, that's when the full emotional range comes in.
Yeah, man.
Totally.
Of course he's right.
Well,
Okay.
he has a point. It's
David
just,
Cage.
it's a little overblown. It's like, we could not show emotion until now. It's like, yeah, you could. You could. I played Heavy Rain. You could. But
Oh, Heavy
But you haven't played his new one, in which case that's real emotion. David Cage. Like, he's the best.
Good
The
David
best.
Cage.
That man is my hero. He's my egotistical hero. If I could be like him constantly, my life would be complete.
David
The man
Cage
did
is
nothing, and they thanked him for it. That is amazing.
I want you to just have a shirt that says David Cage.
That's all
I
that needs to be
want to
done.
sit down. I want to be his, like, I want him to mentor me in life. Because that dude is the best.
Yeah.
He's the cockiest son of a bitch I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
I love him.
I suppose like the one last question would be on the subject of 30,000 polygons is, well, okay, how much power of the PlayStation was actually used to render that face? Because if it was all of it, you can't make a game that way. So can we do multiple characters like this? Can we have at least 2 or 3? Can we render it in the in-game engine? Can we actually make that part of gameplay in some way? Because if we can't, then you might as well have just made a cutscene, and you might as well have just pre-rendered all of this stuff. So, yeah, there you go. Okay, we're going to take a short break, I think, and then we're going to come back. We're going to watch... We got 5 trailers for you. We got Knack, which is the Toblerone robot. We've got Killzone, Shadowfall. This is not endorsed by Toblerone in any way, by the way. Infamous Second Son, The Witness, and Deep Down, which is a working title for a forthcoming
That's what it was called, The
RPG.
Witness. Not touchy-feely game, whatever that was.
Mystery
Witness.
Touch by
Mystery Touch.
Jason Blow. Fucking idiot. We'll be right back. Hi, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Game Station Podcast. The final segment commences. I'm going to have to leave in like 25 minutes, so we best make this quick.
Word.
Let's do games. We've got 5 trailers. Which one do you want to do first? I have 5 trailers available: Knack, Killzone, Infamous, The Witness, and Deep Down. And Force, since you are our guest, you get to pick which one goes first. Which one are we doing?
All right, let's go with Killzone.
Killzone. Okay, Killzone Shadowfall, which, well, is not Killzone 4, it's Killzone Shadowfall. I don't know why. Is it a spin-off? Is it a sequel? Let's find out.
"30 years ago, our home world was swept away in a tide of so-called justice. Millions of men, women, and children lost their lives. But some of us refused to lay down and die. Some of us refused to accept your shallow pleas for forgiveness. We are the generation forged in the fires. And this is our day."
There you go, not exactly a long trailer. They did actually show a lot more gameplay of this during the conference, and I can run a little bit for you while we actually talk about that trailer. So, who has actually played a lot of Killzone games? Oh, God. Alright, I've played Killzone 3. I tried Killzone 1 on the PlayStation 2, and it was dreadful. It was an awful game. It's supposed to be like their "we're gonna kill Halo" kind of thing, and it turned out not to be that at all. But they did do pretty well, I feel, with Killzone 3. I actually had a lot of fun with it. More of a traditional kind of FPS with lasers and cool guys with helmets and red stuff. It was cool. I liked it. But I mean, I've never been a super fan of the series. I've never really been kind of thrilled by it. But I guess it makes sense that they would be trying to roll out one of these kind of IPs for the PlayStation 4. They need something on launch, right? That's going to be something impressive. And The gameplay that they showed, they claimed we should take this with a pinch of salt, by the way, because Killzone 2 was the game that got a lot of controversy surrounding it because they basically lied when they showed it the first time. They said, oh, it was all in-engine, when it really wasn't. It was just all pre-rendered nonsense. But this is supposedly all in-engine, in which case it looks pretty good. I mean, it's not Crysis 3 level of good, but it's definitely not a bad-looking game.
Well, the actual gameplay, we can hope that it's legit because the guy wasn't very good. The guy was like my level of ability. He was like running into things and like missing guys by a good distance.
Well, to be fair, this is I actually have some limited experience with dealing with games on a show floor, and it's really hard to be good at games on a show floor, especially when you're on stage demoing a game. You have to look down at this tiny little monitor that's on the floor, basically, and it's really hard not to suck. It's incredibly difficult.
But my point was that because there were moments of not goodness, that it, I guess, goes more to the validity of what we were saying.
Oh yeah, it looks
That's
like
probably
a game.
A legit thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't see how it couldn't be. It's a little bit later on in this demo where he just like empties a clip and completely misses.
Completely misses. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't give you like a full sort of 30 FPS stream of this because there's not one available. So this is going to be a little bit janky in terms of its frame rate. But you get a sort of vague idea of the kind of graphical validity that's going on right there. And Killzone is not a bad series. Funnily enough, the PS3 has 2 really good FPS on it that don't seem to get enough credit. One is Killzone, the other is Resistance. Resistance 3 is actually a seriously old-school shooter. It's got health packs on the floor. You can pick up fucking health packs. When were you last able to do that?
I miss health packs.
Yeah, just think about that. It's pretty nuts when you think about it.
The thing with this, I mean, as great as it, visually, obviously the fidelity is fantastic. The game looks a lot better. I think they showed a good 5 to 10 minutes of additional gameplay.
About 4 or 5 minutes, give or take.
Sure, but it still looks better, but it still looks like any old shooter in terms of the actual gameplay itself. It's still, you duck behind cover, you pop up, you shoot a couple guys in the face, you pop back down, and which isn't a complaint. I mean, a shooter's a shooter, but I'm more interested in seeing, with the new tech, what new things they can do in terms of gameplay. Yeah, exactly.
And that's a good question. I mean, I think stuff like Drive Club is a better example of what they can kind of do with the new tech. I don't really want to show Drive Club because the trailer is like 25 seconds long. It's best that you just go and listen to his presentation because he really fucking loves cars. Oh,
hold on, wait. I actually got a tweet out about this because it was the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. He in his presentation, he compares Drive Club to a squadron-based first-person shooter with cars. I was like,
what? That's amazing.
It's team-based racing, yeah, and which is actually an interesting concept. It's not really done all that much. Most racing is just you against everybody else. The whole notion is you can create clubs, so clans basically, and then you race with your friends. The cool thing that I like is that you can kind of schedule races and send challenges anytime, anywhere via. They were saying you could do it via a smartphone. So this seems like the kind of thing that people would do when they got home from work. Like during the day, they talk maybe about Drive Club. It's like they're around the water cooler and they're like, fuck yeah, I'm going to challenge you later on this map.
Don't talk about Drive Club TV.
That is the first rule of Drive Club. Yeah. The second
it's
rule
basically Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
Really.
The second rule of Drive Club is I fucking love cars. Oh, God. But, cars. But anyway, this thing, it looks good. It looks like a good-looking, interesting racing game, and that, I think, shows the tech because all of this sort of shared stuff and the interconnectivity seems to be a lot stronger on the PS4 and a lot easier to do. So I think that kind of shows up. But you're right. The Killzone game doesn't show off any new tech whatsoever other than it looks shinier than PlayStation 3 games. Yeah, it does.
Right.
But, as PC gamers primarily, all of us are like, peasants. I play Crysis 3. What? Crysis 3 on medium looks better than that, which is true, it does. But it's graphics are not necessarily what they should be focusing on, but I'm almost kind of glad that they are because the worst case scenario is the PlayStation 4 could have been kind of Wii U. It's like, it's marginally more powerful than the PlayStation, but look at all of this special stuff you can do. Like, no. We already have one console for that. I want the paradigm shift. I want to go to the next gen because I want better games on my PC too. And that's only going to happen if consoles aren't 8 years behind me. So, this is good. I mean, it looks okay. I'll probably, possibly play it with a Move controller because I don't play console FPS with a regular one. I played Killzone 3 with a move, and it was actually a good experience. Like, it's the only time I will play an FPS on console is with a move controller. And, with, like, a Wiimote. Like, what was it? A Red Steel 2? Great game. Loved that. That was an FPS on console that I enjoyed. Because they use it as a mouse. It's like a mouse in your hand. Instead of having to deal with these shitty little thumbsticks. So, it looks okay. Nothing to set the world on fire, certainly, but it looks all right. All right, Jesse, we have 4 trailers left. Which would you like to pick? Would you like Mystery Touch?
I was going to say we should show the trailer for Diablo 3. But there was a lot of those moments, by the way.
God, I was so pissed.
Here's my favorite part about the entire moment. Suddenly Chris Messon's on stage, and everyone in the crowd's like, holy shit! Everyone's like super excited, and he's like, our newest title, Diablo 3. And
Diablo 3 on console.
It was
But this is the worst game you made in the last 10 years. We don't want that.
Oh, so much rage. But what do we have left? I want to see Deep Down. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Because that was awesome looking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for that. And it also had the Capcom guy, which is my favorite person in the entire event.
Yeah, we got Deep Down. He was great. I was actually really disappointed when they brought the translator up for him. It's like, no, he's great. All of the enthusiasm is ruined.
As cool. The translator's like, I'm going to tell you what he's saying. Meanwhile, the guy's like freaking out. He's like, he says that.
That guy's awesome. Like, every show he's on stage, I'm instantly interested in what he has to say.
Did you see his shoes? He had the brightest, orangest shoes I've ever seen in my life. I loved that dude.
Oh, man. All right, so this is a code name for a game. Interestingly enough, it has 2 Ds in it, and it's a high fantasy RPG by Capcom. Wonder what that could be. Well, you never know. It might be, it might not. But whatever the case, they're currently calling it Deep Down, and this is obviously very much prototype in-engine stuff, so let's see what it's got.
Useless magic could have me porking loins in the old market for 1/10 the hassle of your empty venture. Why were you following him anyway? Let's find this bloody third gate.
There you go. Deep Down, the working title. Obviously, I love the fake weapon UI. Like, it doesn't even match up necessarily to what's on screen. It's like, come on, guys. This isn't... Yeah. It's in-engine, but we know that it's not real gameplay.
My favorite part is that the game calls you a coward. It's like, look, either play it or you're a giant vagina. Like, what? Damn, okay.
That shield would have melted. Dragons aren't real! Stop calling about realism. It's a bloody dragon game. What the hell's wrong with you? Anyway, it looks nice. I mean, lighting effects wise, I was very impressed. I love orange glowy torches. I got a thing for that. That's why I really liked Legend of Grimrock until the puzzles happened. But I really liked Legend of Grimrock because it had lots of orange glowy things. And this game also has lots of torchlight stuff. So I'm cool by that. Also, that fire looks great. Like, that's a really nice looking game.
I'm a huge fan of well-textured animals. and that dragon looked really cool. Like
Okay.
his skin looked awesome. I would want that to be in game, but I'm assuming that's a cinematic, even though they put the little UI up.
It's all in engine, so in theory they could make that happen. The question is, can they make it happen dynamically? You can do a
Right.
lot of stuff in engine that you can't necessarily do in full gameplay because it's, it would be, it's basically like fully scripting something, right? Versus having it do it on its own. So I'm intrigued. I mean, it looks good. It's like, hey, great, there's going to be another high fantasy RPG. It looks like Skyrim, not bad. It doesn't look terrible like Skyrim is, but it looks like it could be a lot of fun. And also bearing in mind, they didn't say this was a PS4 exclusive. This is on their new engine called Banter, which is a silly name. This is their advancement on MT Framework, which you have to bear this in mind, that most Capcom games have come to PC and they have been good ports because MT Framework is a PC engine to begin with. Yeah? So if Panteray also is, then we're in for good times. But that still doesn't mean that you're not allowed to not bring Dragon's Dogma to PC, Capcom. Quit being dicks. Bring that. We don't want Resident Evil 6. Why the fuck did you give us that? We want Dragon's Dogma.
You didn't like that? You didn't. I thought, but
That's my biggest problem with game trailers. Like, is this really representative of the gameplay?
It's hard to
Or
that's
It's
always my
representative
That's all I really
of
care about.
Hopefully the graphical fidelity of it. I think
Yeah.
that's all we can really say. It looks like it's a tough high fantasy RPG that may either be third person or first person. We don't really know which because it kind of switch between the two. Could be both. But there's dragons in it and you fight them and it looks like it might be hard.
I'm in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's all I
Fuck
need
yeah.
to know.
All right. Dodger, we got 3 trailers left. We got
What
Toblerone
are they?
Robot, Infamous Second Son, and The Witness. Which one do you want to go for?
Witness.
The Witness. All right. Okay. This is Jonathan Blow's latest. I'm not really sure. Let's take a look. There we go, The Witness, which is a combination of recorders and maze puzzles. 2 of the things I hate the most in life. So this, to me, is a nightmare on a stick.
Oh my god, that looks like the sort of game I would love.
Yes, you would adore it. You go play the shit out of that game.
I will. I'm gonna.
I'll probably do my WTF is of it, and I will just despise every minute of it and then get shouted at for getting stuck on every puzzle.
I like it. It's a good idea.
It's interesting that they decided to show that. I mean, I guess it's good to show a wide range of
Variety.
things, but as far as I can see, it's coming to the iPad as well.
Yes, however, it's going to be a timed PS4 exclusive, which means it's coming to PlayStation 4 first, and then it will be on iPad and PC and presumably everything else.
It's probably smart.
Yeah, I have to wonder how much of that's going to be happening. I think that we're going to be entering the next console war, which means that this is mostly going to be decided by two things: how good value the bloody system is and how many good games it's got, which means that Sony and Microsoft are going to be vying very much for timed exclusives a lot of the time, because it seems like people are less willing to make exclusives because they like money. So it depends how much Microsoft and Sony are really willing to pay to keep certain franchises on their systems, because they certainly failed to do that recently. It's like, oh, Bungie's now making Destiny, which is going to be on PlayStation. Final Fantasy buggered off of the PlayStation ages ago. Metal Gear Solid buggered off of the PlayStation, and a bunch of other stuff. So yes, we have less exclusive now.
Looks like a fun game for an afternoon. I probably wouldn't put more time into it than that, though.
Right? Yeah. I don't know. I guess I'm not in their target audience. It doesn't really appeal to me.
I played every single Myst game, so I am like this game's target audience by far.
I'm trying to figure out if this is a more or less pretentious Myst. It's hard
right?
to say.
Well,
yeah.
There aren't as many textures on it as there is in Myst at this point, so right now it looks far more playful.
Yeah, it almost seems like the puzzles in Riven and Myst were often like, press this button, which is cleverly hidden in the rock, something on the island happened, go figure out what.
Yeah,
this is just
now
like,
go
it's
around the
a
entire island and find it.
Yeah, it's more of an actual puzzle, it seems, which I definitely appreciate, but I still hate it, because it also seems like almost every puzzle is based on some kind of maze minigame, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's like, really? Is that all you're showing? It's like, oh, mazes. We got mazes. Here's some more mazes. Also, there's a record player here for no reason.
Yay!
The Witness.
The Witness!
By
First-person adventure puzzle game.
Yes, seems to be. By Jake Blow.
Jason Blow. God, get it right.
Alright, okay. So, I'm going to show the last two. Let's show Toblerone Robot, a.k.a. Knack, a.k.a. what the hell is Femme Shepherd doing in this? Let's take a look.
She's in it.
War has come to our peaceful land. We must send our best to neutralize this threat. A veteran explorer, military might. Yes, Doctor.
I would like to make a small addition to the team. Behold my greatest creation, Knack.
Just go slow, little buddy. You'll be fine.
He looks a little delicate to me. Knack is capable of explosive growth. He will be invaluable in the fight against the goblins.
Knack, you're no human. Why do you work for them?
Victor's up to something.
The next step of human evolution begins now.
The world is about to change, and he'll be the one who changed it.
Well, that's something I can get behind. Mostly because it's the guys that made Crash Bandicoot. That's why people are saying, oh, it looks kind of like Crash Bandicoot. Yep, that's because the guy behind it, I believe is, I hope I don't screw his name up, Mark Kearney, I believe is his name. And he's pretty good. He's very good. Like, this is the guy that made Marble Madness. Like, he made that in 1984 when I was born. Jesus, that's scary. Like, he is behind Jak and Daxter, all the Spyro games, Kid Chameleon, California games, holy shit, as well as Marble Madness, Resistance. He was a design consultant on that. He is the lead system architect on the PS4. And he's also making that, which looks super fun and colorful, and it has character. And why the hell's Femshep in it?
What is it? Like the
everything.
game itself?
Action
Do we
adventure,
have
from
any?
what I can tell.
See,
It's
that's
action
my
adventure?
problem.
Yeah, there was some
is I'm
gameplay in it.
like,
Not
alright,
much.
Yeah.
It's a game that shows off some cool physics with all little pieces. I don't know. It looked okay to me.
It's a Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, Jack and Daxter style game. It's an action adventure.
What if we play as the robot thingy?
Yeah.
I would assume
That'd be
so.
the assumption.
Yeah, you play as the robot, and one assumes you can kind of build the robot, and you can make the robot bigger or smaller. You can construct from different materials. We saw him like running through lasers by making himself out of glass and stuff like that. So that looks fun. That's good.
Seems
from what I can
interesting.
tell. Yeah, apparently there's some gameplay shown in the UI demo, and I'm gonna have to try and find that. I'll try to dig through it, but it looks nice. I mean, it's a really cool, colorful looking game, right? And surely that's what we're after. We don't want the same nonsense of, brown, 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 explosions, brown, and so on and so forth. We don't want that, right? That seems silly.
Yeah, I like silly.
Yeah, I am.
Reminded me of like a Pixar film. Seemed to have a lot of that feel to it.
It's got character.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that, definitely. But I'm definitely looking forward to trying that one out. That looks fun. That's probably the first game that I've seen of everything that's like, yeah, I'll buy that. I'll play that. That might not suck. Although there is one more that certainly most likely will not suck because it's the new offering from Sucker Punch, who at this time can do no wrong. And it goes by the name of Infamous Second Son. Let's take a look.
Your safety is our top priority. The DUP is in control. To expedite scanning, please remove all rings and bracelets. The DUP is in control.
G6 status.
G6 clear.
G7 status. H1 status.
What the hell?
What was that?
I don't know. B2 status? What should we do? B2 repeat status.
On me. Keep your eyes peeled.
The DUP is in control of the situation.
Lost B2. Check in B5, B5.
Over there. Go. Cover me.
I want him alive.
Stop right there! On the ground!
The DUP is in control of the situation. The DUP is in control.
You are not in control.
Yep, I'm all about that. That looks pretty cool. Infamous
does look
is a
pretty
lot of
dope.
fun. I still think that Infamous 1 was the better game. Infamous 2 had a lot of kind of repetitive side quests, and they supposedly solved that by allowing people to make quests, and they all ended up sucking. I'll tell you what, the actual best way to play Infamous 2 is not to play Infamous 2, it's to play Infamous 2 Festival of Blood, which is like a cut-down, cheaper version of Infamous 2, which is like a kind of 5 to 6 hour gameplay experience with no filler, and it's great. But if you play the other game, it's like, whereas Infamous 1, I think, was better paced and had better side quests there, but yeah, looks good. We'll see.
Yeah, it'll be
Anyway.
good. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was about to say we're going to have to unfortunately wrap this up because I
Yeah.
literally have to leave. So I will have a quick plug. Check out our channels below. Again, sorry for the kind of shorter show. Hopefully you like the additional features. I will try and use those better next week. I'm still getting used to all this crazy stuff. Please do check out our channels. ForceSC2Strategy. He has no StarCraft. He's a big liar. Go check him out over there. Press hard to continue, and of course, Dex bonus, I believe, or was it Dexterity bonus?
Dexterity bonus is the
You have to
channel.
put those extra syllables in there, don't you?
I'm sorry.
La-di-da, fancy. Dexterity bonus for second channel, Jesse Cox or OMFG Carter. My StarCraft channel is TotalBiscuit. I do have some more matches coming up, so yeah, do keep an eye out on that. And of course, follow us on Twitter, TotalBiscuit or Cynical Brit, as well as Dex bonus, Jesse Cox, and ForceSC2Strategy. Please do. Thank you for watching the Game Station Podcast. I hope you had a lot of fun. Next week, we'll be kind of back to regular, and we won't be talking about PS4 all the time. So if you had no interest whatsoever in PS4...
Sorry.
Yeah, whatever. Your fault. See ya. We're leaving. Bye.